Be surprised to see him predominantly play up forward. Come down to the VFL level almost for a bit of a rest. He's starting to run out of petrol tickets after a sensational AFL season. But simple equation, Jace, they must win, the Blues.
Similar to their AFL situation. First term coming your way thanks to Isuzu D-Max. There's the live ladder. Carlton sitting in 8th as we speak. And we are underway. Seven's VFL match of the day from Casey Fields.
And the first kick should be the man playing his 100th VFL game in Mitch White. He sends it deep looking for Brown. Wiedemann will take the spillage, assess his options. Chip, miss his intended target. Good pressure. Plowman perhaps high on Mitch Brown, who's got the long sleeves, and that's the case. And Mitch Brown, who's been just super for Casey in the forward half this season, will try and go back and kick his 30th goal of the year.
He's been prolific, hasn't he? And a late whistle there from the umpire. There's no doubt that that tackle was high, and the umpire eventually saw it there. Just a little bit sloppy. Just that left arm over the shoulder.
Lockie Plowman playing just his 3rd VFL game and 2nd of the season. So Brown, as Casey chase 17 straight wins, are off and running.
Footy's a simple game sometimes. Mitch White wins the clearances, drives it forward. Casey players, in particular Wiedemann, kept his feet when a few of his opponents fell to ground. Chip kick into the corridor and a sloppy free kick. Brown is never going to miss that perfect start for the undefeated D's.
Blues a good clearance side. Casey are as well. Trudgeon comes in and he cops one high. Around the neck from Bell. And Joel Trudgeon having a good season, averaging 22 touches a game. Run from behind comes from Kemp. Drives it deep inside 50. De Koning to play as a key forward this afternoon. Ball hits the deck for Fogarty. Spins out, gives it to Dow. Tries to fashion a kick. Off hands to the top of the goal square. D's have got numbers. Dunstan finds White on the way out. He's got Joel Smith. Bounces a kick. Kemp will arrive and run straight into him and knocks himself out in the process. He lost his footing, ran straight into Joel Smith, and he is down, Brodie Kemp. Laurie towards half forward, 2-on-1 for Wiedemann. Plowman couldn't take the grab, working with Durden. Back towards the wing. White stands underneath it. Pressure there came from Machete. Harms, Medi sub last night, wasn't required. Laurie goes short.
He's still in the hands of multiple trainers there. Slipped at the wrong time, and that's the end of his day, I would say.
Blues a man down. Woden goes looking for Wiedemann. Couldn't take the mark. Brown at the back. Foster-King for a second. Keeps the play alive. Van Ruin's been his partner in crime. Splashes it across the face. And there's Brodie Kemp being...
A bit of claret too.
Walked slowly. Here's the incident with Joel Smith.
What about a head clash, was it?
He hit the...
Or the shoulder.
Top of his shoulder, perhaps.
Yeah. Got some claret coming out of the bottom of his chin as well there. So the concussion protocols... might need some stitches, but he is in a very bad way.
Given his current status, hard to see how he'd take any further part in this one. To the action, Sincotta, his kick wide looking for Dow. Hayes on his return. It bobbled off the face of Dow. Fogarty shares with Hayes, who comes inboard for Murkoff, who did well to fashion a kick, but Casey, as they have so often, have set up defensively, and this time it's Turner.
Dan Turner, one AFL game against Collingwood, got injured. Head clash with Jamie Elliott, missed 4 weeks with a facial injury. Tomlinson retreats to Corey Ellison. A rock in defence for Casey this season. Nice kick. Switches play. Buntine has to wait for it. Chips down the middle. It's going to be cut off. Mark not completed by Machete. Chance for the Blues. Handball came out from Lewis. Pressure there on Sincotta. Forced the turnover. Here's Laurie, usually tidy with the football. Well done, Tyrese Lue.
That was a terrific tackle by Smith. Really worked hard to pressure that kick and turn the ball over.
So Lue kicks it back towards the wing, but it's all D's again, and Buntine cuts it off. He'll go short. Find Blake Howes, who then Hits the 45 as well to Harms. Casey picking their way through. Harms now attacks the top of the square. All Blues again, and it's Lou. Brownie, it's going to be quality versus quantity today. Carlton, the #1 quantity team in the comp. They're #1 for clearances. They're #1 for loose gets, contested possessions, uncontested, disposals. But their disposal efficiency not great. The D's are the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to have to use the ball as well as they ever have if they want to penetrate through this terrific Casey defence. They're undefeated. They play here at home at Casey Fields as well as any side.
12 and zip this year, Casey's VFL team and the Melbourne AFLW team. No visitors won here.
Exactly. It's a very hard place to win. So you need to use the ball efficiently, especially forward of centre.
Bell and Murkoff tangling. Howes, Bell, Munro. Pressure coming for Bowie. Won't be able to get free of Fogarty, and there's a bit of a skirmish as Crocker standing over the top of Munro. James Harms, as James Harms does, looking for body. With he and Crocker comparing arm sleeves. Harms dumped. Plenty of feeling in this. Carlton needing to respond on several fronts. The loss in the AFL last night. Their VFL side in a very similar situation, needing to somehow, against the tide, an undefeated tide of that in Casey, find a win today to secure their VFL finals place.
Crocker through his legs, Trudgeon at the back, opens it up. Sincotta's a thumping kick. This time he takes a bit of distance off it. Over the head of Aquay and Tomlinson. Heading towards the line. Aquay's got speed. Tomlinson takes him to the line. One other game in action this afternoon. Sydney and Collingwood, quarter time there. The Swans up by 13 points. Critical game. Winner goes a game clear inside the top 4. Loser still at risk.
Well, it's not dissimilar to the game to follow that this afternoon that we'll head to after the completion of our match, Sydney and Collingwood in the AFL, having a very similar look in terms of outcomes.
Bell in the ruck. Glass McCasker couldn't control it. Fogarty comes in, puts some pressure in. Fogarty, rather. Dow flipped it to space. He's Bowie. Fighting to get his spot back in the team. Kick across the body. Radovanovic cuts it off. He'll square it up. Inside 50. Can the Blues find a target? Off the hands of Marr. Harms, he's run down, tackled by 3. Good pressure, Trudgeon and Marr.
That's the sort of pressure you need to bring for the whole 4 quarters. Casey like to run and carry. They like to come through the corridor too if there's not that dump kick down the line. Terrific pressure.
15 AFL listed Ds, 11 Blues, one of them Dow. Can't get free of the tackling machine in Jimmy Munro. Laurie fumbled it. It was a back heel from Dunstan that works okay for Harms. He'll go a second time and then just kicked for space almost through the umpires, through the hands at least of the Carlton player there in Dozy. Clean handball Dow. They can share it with Trudgeon, who was fumbly, but they're marching it forward at least. Quick kick Fogarty. Off the line and misses to the right.
Got to be clean, especially below your knees there. There was a couple of just little fumbles that just forced pressure onto, or just transferred it from one player to the other just by not being clean.
Yeah, #1 for disposals, but number 19 for kick efficiency, Brownie. Sums up Carlton's year, but they give themselves a chance. They're the best clearance team in the comp. Now they just need to work on using it better. Buntine into the path of Baker. He's got pressure there from Michael Lewis, and it's out.
The hardest part about football is finding the footy, and they're very good at that. So the rest will come with time, with experience. There's a couple of the boys watching on from a very nice win last night. They'd be quite happy
relieved
with themselves. Yeah, relieved's a good word. I think they got out of jail.
Murkoff versus Bell. Murkoff works to the front. Off hands, Bailey Laurie. Trudgeon comes through hard on Munro. Here's Dow tracking it at ground level. He's pressured by Dunstan. Radovanovic tries to bust through a tackler and does. Trudgeon busy early. Cross his body, but Bell set up behind the football, takes the mark. Jack Bell got some ruck support after Majak Dor retired. They called on Jake Spencer, who's had a calf injury for a few weeks. Finally gets his chance to return today. Plowman. Crocker working higher up the ground, and we might see a bit of that today, Brownie, given that they've got De Koning as a key forward, which is a luxury they normally don't have. That's not a great kick from Crocker. Not on the same page as Lou, and Howes can make them pay by delivering it inside 50 to Joel Smith, who's come back from injury and gone forward.
Yeah, it's great to see. He hasn't had a clean bill of health and good run at it for a few years now, Smith, but very versatile player. And I just see De Koning spent a hell of a long time on the bench here. They're desperate to get him back on, but you just can't afford to turn the ball over coming out of your back half. especially against a good side.
So Murkoff comes to the bench, De Koning comes on. Interesting to see if he does spend any time in the ruck or Glass McCasker becomes their backup ruckman. Kick from Smith is drifting right on the breeze.
Worth mentioning as well, we've got 4 field umpires who are going to rotate through the game today. All of them on the AFL list in Michael Pell, Nathan Toner, Nick McGuinness and Paul Rebashini. Talking to Hayden Kennedy during the course of the week, who looks after the umpires. I think it's just a matter of giving them all an opportunity for a bit of game time. Plenty of footy coming up with finals, AFL, VFL, and of course the start of the AFLW season now inside a fortnight away as well. So
as a player, you'd need to know that just because it's not the right game to do an indiscretion, Jace. Another set of eyes out there.
So some word from the Carlton camp. Brody Kemp's gone into the rooms for an HIA, head assessment, concussion test.
Yeah, not surprised. I don't think we'll be seeing him. They've showed their intent. Trudgeon, Kemp really attacked the contest and the players hard here. And
another step inside the wonderful football brain and experience of Campbell Brown there, acknowledging that 4 umpires means another set of eyes that can catch you doing something off the ball. Oscar Baker's been good, 7th in the league for effective kicks this season. Bit too much on it for De Koning, who was fumbly, bobbled through Spencer, Dow, Hayes. Blues put it in reverse. Hayes received it back, but coughed up what was in his hands from North.
So another fumble.
Casey just not so much intimidating. It's their mere presence that's putting pressure on Carlton at the moment and creating these fumbles.
Yeah, maybe it's perceived pressure because the Blues players know that it's going to be coming, and it's just caused them to be a little bit fumbly.
Kick efficiency 28% at the moment, which is, well, putrid, quite frankly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they even missed their kick in from that last behind from Smith.
De Koning. That one's tidy. Finds Machete, the 23rd man. Really impressive youngster. Off to Sincotta, one of the better kicks in the team. That one's a flat spiral inside 50. Buntine to tidy it up. Bit too much on that for Baker. And it's out. So some talented youngsters in this side for the Blues to keep an eye on this afternoon. Michael Lewis, who turned 20 yesterday. Mitch Machete, the 23rd man. He's just 18 years of age, still playing NAB footy at Gippsland.
Premiership West Coast Eagle, Ash Hansen.
Premiership VFL coach.
That's right, Footscray.
Ollie Sanders, Patrick Dozzy. Some really good youngsters getting an opportunity with this Carlton VFL side. In a big game like this, where there's so much at stake against a really good team. De Koning, can he find Dow? Through the legs of Laurie. He couldn't quite control it. Harms puts his frame over it, gets it to Munro. Quick kick out of there from McVee's.
Great body.
By Brown. In front of Plowman. Will go long and direct to 50. Beautifully weighted kick. Finds Smith. Flying past is White. 48 metres out. And he misses left.
Outstanding ball movement there. You just saw Brown in the middle of the ground. He understands how to use the body without infringing. Moved his opponent and the quick ball movement. Hard to stop.
So 5 inside 50s apiece, but the forward entries have had a very different look on both sides. Casey's have been dynamic, yielding that goal 52 seconds in to Mitch Brown, and Carlton, meanwhile, are fluffing their lines all over the ground.
That kick is to no one, even if he was aiming for a Blues jump. I'm not sure who it was, but again,
Xavier Mark
coming out of the back half, and you're under no pressure, ball in hand, you can't find a target. Going to make it hard to win.
De Koning with the left hand. Follow-up from Harms, a tangle. Not surprising to see Munro grabbing hold of Carroll. Turning into the tackle was Laurie, trying to spin through Hayes. Umpire prepared to let it go, that being Nick McGuinness. There's Michael Voss, Aaron Hamill watching on. Some 14 hours after a devastating loss last night, Cozzy Pickett's goal with just 11 seconds of playing time remaining at the MCG.
So De Koning in the ruck here at the moment.
White. Steele was just bodied out of it ever so slightly and had perhaps hold of Tom North as well. It's going to go against North, and he can't believe it. So Rowan Steele, off 3 last week for his local club, Frankston YCW, against Sorrento, goes looking for Brown. Van Ruin, clever as ever. Back to Brown. His kick smothered. Well done, Plowman.
Yeah, really good defensive work there. First, the initial body contact to bring the ball to ground from Plowman, and he followed it up with a desperate smother.
Halfway through the opening term. Solitary goal in the game to Mitch Brown. Blues hanging on in their back half right now. Van Ruin against De Koning. Hayes slapped it to Dow, and a fumble again, this time from Carroll. It is breezy, it is drizzly, but the Blues not as sharp as they need to be if they're going to take on a team like this.
Isn't it the fumbles for the Blues at the moment?
Early stages of the second term up in Sydney. It's the Swans by 13 points over Collingwood. The winner of that game goes a game clear inside the top 4 with 1 to play.
Spencer over the back. Hayes tries to step through the tackle, and there was enough in the tackle from both Harms and Steele to provide an opportunity on goal. There's Jake Spencer on the screen, playing his local footy with Doncaster after returning to Victoria. At least from a football sense, he was a fly-in, fly-out player for Aspley in the NEAFL for a couple of seasons. So James Harms, who was the medical sub the last 2 AFL games, including last night for Melbourne, and was unused in both of those. Back for his first VFL match since round 3 last year, when he had 28 possessions and kicked 2 goals against North Melbourne. Eyes darting perhaps for a leading option. Just try and tee it up for Brown. They did find the small piece of space, but nothing in it. So Lockie Plowman to bring it in as the Blues 8 points adrift.
Done well to minimise the damage, given Casey's control of the contest. Is Spencer. Tomlinson at the back takes the mark. Dominated the territory, Casey. The Blues hanging on grimly in the back half. Here's Turner. Speaking of hanging on grimly, that's what he did there, lunging at the football. Allison. Blues look to press up. Casey looked to pick their way through. That's a little easy to find White in some space. He turns and goes deep towards the pocket. Brown's there, Wiedemann's there. Up goes Durden, almost, not quite. Wiedemann at ground level, surrounded by 3. Taken to ground by Durden. Blues have got some numbers, but need to be clean. Maher, he's taken down. Hayes slipped and flipped it out towards De Koning. Back towards Hayes. Picked up by Harms. Ricochets. And in the right spot there was Tom North for the Blues.
Goalkeeper North, right on the goal line then.
The one thing Casey don't have in their arsenal today, which they've had often this season, is a crummer of the ilk of either Toby Bedford or Cade Chandler, as we see Deacon Smith, fresh off inking a 1-year contract extension, getting a fist on it. So something that they'll have to try and create, someone to be the drop of ball presence in their forward line.
Yeah, no doubt. Just unbelievable depth that Melbourne and Casey have got at the moment. Very few injuries.
Tough day for the boundary umps working into that breeze as Carroll swept onto it and was pushed off it. Bowie's handball was impacted. Munro, White steps onto his left. Van Rooyen, Lou body on body with him, and happy to find the sanctuary of the line is Sam Durden.
Some similarities to last night's AFL game in the sense there's a fair bit of inside hand-to-hand combat. Blues keeping Casey's scoring power restricted to this point. You can see the breeze in the background there. It really is very blustery. And it looks like Carlton might have the advantage in the opening term.
Shallow throw will favour Murkoff. There's a little bit too much on it for Carroll to handle. Chicken wing tackle applied on Steele. So, Brownie, in terms of Carlton and their mode, we know they're high possession. They flick it around by hand, but can you change your stripes for a day like today where you need to be in a different mode?
You just need to play smarter football. Still play the similar way, but understand it's windy. Maybe taking those risky corridor kicks all the time. You don't need to. You can set up some long down the line, in particular late in quarters.
Brown wrapped up by Lewis. The hit out towards Hayes, and his kick smothered over the line by Baker.
Game awareness in any time. You have to just adjust slightly for conditions, whether it's rain, wind, whatever that may be. But they're hanging in there at the moment. Carlton.
Rain, wind, hail, sleet.
We'll see it all today, no doubt.
Wiedemann's kick ricochets off Durden. Trudgeon goes at it. Back to Lewis. He flips it. North. Hayes. Can he hit a target and get a little bit of territory here for the Blues? They need to find an exit. It actually clears the contest. Allison first back onto it. Steps away from Crocker. Chips it back towards Munro. Well done, Carroll, floating over the top. Got it to ground. Going through trying to win it was Turner. It's picked up by Tomlinson. His handball cut off. Hayes just puts the boot into it. Goes for territory. Over the back towards Carl to run onto, but finds the boundary line, and at least a little bit of respite here for the Carlton defence. They get it to half forward. Now the challenge, lock it in there.
Ben Crocker on screen. reference he's spending a bit more time up the ground today. 32 majors for the season. What a fine addition he's been to the Carlton VFL team these last 2 years after coming off the Adelaide Crows rookie list. So the Blues and Casey both coming off buys, pre-buy. Casey taking care of the Northern Bull Ants by 91 points. A loss to Williamstown for the Blues, so they both bring very different form lines as Bowie gets the fist in the contest against Carl. Jake Bowie, of course, this time last year, he was in the embryonic stages of his AFL career that would eventually result in an AFL premiership. He's doing it a little bit differently at the moment, of course. Round 2 is the NAB Rising Star after having 34 touches against the Gold Coast Suns. 16 AFL games this year. Today, his third VFL match. Wide and air swing. Munro, Harms, they seem to be working in unison time and time again in this opening quarter, and Wiedemann can't make anything meaningful of that.
In fact, Jake Bowie's situation with Jaden Hunt is exactly the opposite. Hunt had the position all year until about this time last year. Bowie took the spot and kept it, and this year it's been the opposite. Bowie's been the incumbent all season, and now Jaden Hunt's grabbed it.
He must have been thinking, how good is AFL footy? 17 consecutive wins, including a premiership to start his career, and you have ebbs and flows in your career, and he's back playing VFL footy, but there's that opportunity of finals coming up again.
Here's Fogarty. Bounces it inside 50. Awkward one for De Koning. Nice gather at ground level by Marr, but he can't break the tackle. Smith coming off a broken jaw. Missed the last couple of games. Here's Laurie, been busy. He's had a great year, Bailey Laurie. He's pushing up into the AFL mix as well. Harms. Baker. Chips it down the line, and these are the chains of possessions the Blues haven't been able to put together. Steele goes towards Wiedemann or Brown, and Wiedemann takes it, turns immediately, improves the situation, but the mark dropped by Woden. Now he's got a problem. Sanders wraps him up. Back to Brown towards the top of the square, and now Crocker, who'll need to be tidy on the way out.
And they dodge another bullet here, the Blues. Good unselfish football from Wiedemann. Woden should have gobbled that up.
Carroll to Machete. Now Fogarty. Buntine arrives late. Can Carlton start to chain together some possession?
And steady rain pretty much a quarter of an hour prior to play starting, and it's as steady and intense as it's been right now. As Aquay's going to get a flight this, but it's through all and sundry. Deacon Smith, Bowie fashions a kick that Crocker is camped under, and what courage, what a sandwich to flush that from Turner. That's a really, really hard skill to execute. Wet ball, dropping, spinning. Only eyes on it really late here from Turner, and he hits that flush with his fist.
You could just see right in front of us here, Crocker's standing there having to compete, and 4 Casey players descending on him.
Yep, thought bubble was Murkov lays it down at the feet of Carroll. It ricochets to Trudgeon, who gives it back to Jack Carroll. Just pulls the kick a little. Wasn't to the advantage of Cale, who may have interfered with Smith. Umpire said play on. Marr being harassed out of it. Carl comes back for more. Again, a nice gather from Marr, but he can't use it. It's stripped from him. Deacon Smith somehow found some space, then dropped the football. Crocker, he's wrapped up by White. Marr involved again, and they eventually win the day. Get it down the ground. De Koning can't control it. He's got Tomlinson for an opponent. Beats the Carl smother, but the pressure sees the turnover to Murkov.
Who's developing nicely this season in the VFL under the tutelage of Matthew Cruiser. Crocker's kick for De Koning. Spitzer all comers. Turner took on the tackle of Carroll and thrown out of submission. They'll take the advantage here, the Blues, and Glass McCasker gets them on the board.
Wasn't perfect football there. The Isuzu MUX replay shows just a really good, strong tackle. Jack Carroll was awarded holding the ball. They took advantage, and terrific finish there, and that's what they're going to have to do all afternoon. They might not get the marks, the inside 50 marks on a wet day, but those defensive tackles inside your forward 50 are going to be crucial as an infringement in the middle of the ground, and it's going to go the way of the Blues so they can drive it back in.
You can see from the rain coming straight down that the breeze is really swirly. It's not particularly favouring either end by the looks. So Trudgeon will get the free kick in the centre circle.
Did we see what it was for?
Could have been a 6-6-6, although normally you get
a warning.
Normally you get a warning, so a little bit of confusion. Do we need to flash the lights to let them know that we're ready to go again? Here we go.
Right.
Trudgeon has it in the middle of the ground. Low kick, didn't get all of it. And that's a real waste for the Blues. It's cut off by Mitch White. Now watch the D's try to swarm forward from the back. Tomlinson got through Durden too easily. Kick along the ground wasn't great, but there was a push
in the action. Yeah, so it's going to come back. It was a weird kick that he pulled it, but you've got to use your full leg there because driving it deep inside the forward 50 on a wet day just puts the Casey defenders under a little bit of pressure. You don't want to turn it over 45 metres.
Almost looked like he got it on the toe of his boot a bit, didn't it? Didn't quite get the elevation underneath it as Turner comes back to Tomlinson.
Control the footy a little bit here. Chipping game has been good.
De Koning couldn't quite get there to spoil Munro. He'll take some territory. Kick will land inside 50. Big pack of players. Only one really went at it, Van Ruin, and almost pulled it in. Down now on the burst. Carroll. Lou did not see the man there in front of him, and Crocker's taken down by Brown. It was good pressure initially from McVie. Maher spun into a tackle. Dow flips it out. Radovanovic puts his head over the football. He's wrapped up. It's held in by Buntine. Umpire will call for it as we hit the 26-minute mark.
Tyrese Lou just getting lost with when that ball is in the air on a couple of occasions. His opponent, which has been Wiedering, has been just able to get some separation.
So Harms and Dow 10 apiece for their respective teams so far. Mitch Brown and Jesse Glass-McCasker, the goal kickers. Mitch White running through the bottom of your screen there in his 100th match, checking out to allow Harms back in. Dunstan trying to get around the back of the stoppage, slides through it, as does Crocker. Trudgeon committed, went low and hard against Munro, as there's a bit happening between Crocker and Dunstan.
Free kick.
The free kick's going to go the way of Joel Trudgeon. He's putting together an impressive season. Crockett takes the free. De Koning tried to plant and stop Tomlinson's momentum. The ball will work its way to him, hanging off the back but not able to impact with the tackle was McVie. Casey turn it over at half back. An important stop, and Dunstan will try and give them some control late.
Comes wide, Van Ruin direction. Stepping in front of him was Lewis. It'll get to the back, and Durden read it well. Can he use it well? He can. To Crocker, smack bang centre wing. Carroll calls for it inside. It'll be a really dangerous kick at this stage of the quarter.
Yeah, he's getting busy, working nice and high, Crocker. He's got a really good aerobic engine. He's gone the barrel.
And it'll bounce inside 50, and it might work for the Blues. Here's Glass-McCasker over the back again. He's got a man wide open. Slipping there was Hayes. And the moment's lost for the Blues.
Oh, it was a nice build-up. Sometimes the torpedo can keep the defenders guessing a little bit. It just travelled that fraction further, got over the back, which is a nightmare for a defender, and they did have a man on. Just couldn't quite hit the target at the top of the goal square, but they get a stoppage inside their forward 50. They'd be wrapped with this quarter because they've been outplayed, the Blues, and they're still right in it.
Throw-in goes over the back. Brody Kemp doing his warm-ups on the boundary, which is a great sign here, working with the physio. So looks like he's planning to return, which is great news for the Blues.
Clearly passed the concussion test, which looked like a miracle upon when we saw that replay.
It's Kobe George, a 23rd man. Looking forward to seeing him in action. He might be that crummer Casey are looking for this afternoon. The young man, the 21-year-old, originally from Berwick and Wesley, plays his footy at Collegians in the Ammos. And there is Brody Kemp. Dad Davey George played at Dandenong back in the day. Chance for Kobe playing game number 2 this afternoon.
Yeah, star at Dufton, where he's also in the Hall of Fame. David George, Bell and Murkoff, Carroll, Dunstan after it. Imagine Luke Dunstan's going to be a name we hear a bit of on Monday, September 12, when the Liston Trophy and the Lambert Peace Medal are handed out for the VFL and VFLW. Hosted Melbourne players watching on, the injured Tom McDonald amongst them.
Haven't got many injuries, only 4 in their VFL and AFL lists combined. Carlton have got 16.
It's amazing.
As mentioned last night, we spoke about Jaden Hunt perhaps being in the Jake Bowie spot at the moment, that Jake Melksham's 4 goals, another player who missed out on an AFL premiership last year, putting his hand up firmly for one in 2022 as Taj Woden's the last man up there. So getting towards 30 minutes here. Casey hanging on to a 3-point margin, but it's been good from Carlton the back half of the quarter. That not so, as Bowie can slide in with the grab.
And that rain getting heavier.
Yeah, really pumping down now. Woden to Harms.
You just got to try and slow Casey's ball movement down here late in the quarter. You don't want to concede one late. Those kicks lateral, you can concede them.
Baker, the recipient. Put some height into it. Durden sets himself. Brown will come from behind. It'll spill towards Smith. He's tackled as he kicked, and Hayes picks it off. He brings it back inboard. Dangerous kick, but it works well to Fogarty because it opens up the ground. Now Crocker. Chance for Carlton maybe to push forward late. Crocker wants a target to present. Carl does so. Spills over the back. Deacon Smith smothered off his boot. Here's Carl again. Inside 50 to a one-on-one. Glass McCasker flips it to Carroll at the front of the pack. Manages to get his boot to it despite the tackle from Harms. Glass McCasker tried to soccer it. McVee, he's taken down. Tackle Glass McCasker, and the Blues get a stoppage, about 30 out.
There's been plenty of these in the opening quarter, not surprising given the conditions. Bell tried to force it forward. Carroll read it. His kick skied as well. It'll bounce pitch, and Judd McVee not able to impact.
You're happy right now if you're the Blues coaching staff. Late in the first quarter, you've got the ball locked inside your forward 50.
You're happier than that, bloke.
Yeah, that is a nightmare.
Yeah, the wind was blowing across the ground pre-game, so it is surprising there are about 12 people braving the elements on the outer or eastern side of Casey Fields. I feel like this is the anniversary of us almost being blown off the scaffold at Middleborough Road at Box Hill some 4 or 5 years ago, gentlemen.
Was that before or after we almost got electrocuted?
After. Gee, there was some amazing photos around Victorian football yesterday with lightning and storms striking some pockets of Melbourne. An amazing photo of a game of footy down near Geelong where a match was called off.
Yes, saw that one. Amazing photo.
Hayes vacuumed it. Fogarty again, fumbly. That was the Carlton we saw in the first 5 minutes. But on this occasion, Fogarty copping one high, and Dunstan's been involved in a couple of little indiscriminate acts. So Fogarty, the former Cat, love a mark, or even better, perhaps a crumb. Fist from Buntine will deny them. 1-4-10, 1-1-7, the tail of the tape at quarter time in tough conditions. The second last round of the VFL season. The Blues, their season's on the line. Casey trying to win their 17th straight game.
Cool. So let's take that into account. Ball's on the deck and you get a foot at it, get off the ground 30 metres.
Simple wet weather footy second quarter thanks to Max's tyres, Brownie.
Yeah, it certainly is. You don't want to overpossess the ball. Just if you get an opportunity to surge it forward, they would be the instructions.
Harms the fend off Carroll. Off the left boot inside 50. Durden with the spoil. It gets over the back. Van Ruin worked towards the line by Lou and taken out. So Carlton settling into the game much better from midway through that opening term. It's turned into, as you'd expect in these conditions, an inside hand-to-hand battle, which will suit the Blues. They'd be happy to keep this a low-scoring slog. Casey, the #1 attacking team in the competition. I don't really want it opening up, Carlton. Woden looks inside. Durden stands underneath it. Brown came in from the side, affected the contest, then got it off to Wide, who couldn't get purchase on the kick. Lou sinks his boot into it, heads wide, and out of bounds on the full. It's Tyrese Lou, 19-year-old, actually from Rowville. Goes towards the pocket of the hands of Woden. Brown tried to keep it alive. Plowman slaps it forward. Fogarty worked off it. White off to Harms. Towards the top of the square. Durden dropped a mark, put himself under pressure. Lewis out of the way. Howes, quick shot at goal. Costly fumble from the Blues. Great to have you with us, streaming around the country on 7+. All our 7 VFL Match of the Day action available live and on demand, along with 7 Sandful and 7 Waffle matches. Finals coming up throughout September. Some great State League footy to be enjoyed right around the country, and you can get it all live and free on 7+.
Well, Sam Durden put himself in the perfect spot for a defender as we see the replay of Max's ties. He just dropped a simple chest mark, and that's not where you want to keep the ball alive, right at the top of the goal scorer in your defensive 50. Howe, just a smart footballer, kept it low, and Casey make you pay if you make easy, unforced errors like that.
Blake Howe showing a bit as a bit of a tall running wing half forward, and going to get himself involved here, galloping onto that and showing it off to Bowie. Tries to shape his kick. Bodywork from Laurie, and there was a fistful of his jumper from Sincotta, but the free kick will go in the other direction.
Went with the push before the jumper hold there.
So Sincotta with options inboard, but as Daniel O'Keefe alluded to at quarter time, territory's the name of the game. DeConing was the last of the Flyers. Deacon Smith is at the back and looking for the line, and it comes as no surprise that the first quarter we had 34 total stoppages, 20 of them with throw-ins. It's that sort of day where if the ball gets anywhere near the boundary line, in all likelihood it's going to find its way out. So Mitch Brown and Blake House's majors, either side of Jesse Glass-McCaskill's goal from an advantage free kick for the Blues. Bell got fingertips to it. Woden back to Bell. Laurie surrounded by some white jumpers, but it worked its way to Bowie. Put boot to ball. Clean half volley pick up there was pretty neat, it has to be said, from Lewis, but Casey will turn it over again.
Busting out was Smith. Baker got an awkward one. Plowman left his man, did well, affected the contest. Hayes' handball pour towards Kemp, put him under pressure. Hayes will get it back. Throws it on his boot. Inside 50. Buntine almost the one hand. At ground level, still alive for the Blues. A fumble from Crocker. Did he get one high from Smith? He did. Got clipped on the way down.
I think it was a terrific play by Lewis that backed himself in the middle of the ground. He then was facing the goals rather than just hack kicking it forward. He handballed to a guy stationary with his back turned, and then they tried to instill another handball which turned the ball over. So that is exactly what they were talking about in terms of surge football for Daniel O'Keefe. It's a simple one, but just getting the ball in there. Benny Crocker, opportunity here for a high bump, and he's usually a pretty accurate shot on goal.
Tough conditions from range today, and he'll be kicking this one from 45. Can he steer it through? It's going to sit up on the breeze, and he's going to miss to the near side.
32 for Ben Crocker so far this season as Adam Tomlinson, another of those Ds who found himself out of the team, of course, because of an ACL during last year's AFL finals. Trying to find his way back in somehow as Durden slaps it down to Hayes. So the two mid-season draft rookies combine. DeConing and Turner, that ball will be out of bounds on the full. So Daniel Turner, of course, who made his debut on the Queen's Birthday Monday against the Pies, was concussed in that. It's been good to see him back in the last couple of weeks. Kick beats all comers, including Sam Wiedemann.
Looks like that breeze might have picked up a little towards the right of screen. A couple of those kicks are really starting to fly now.
Yeah, I'm going to see a lot of football played on that far side, you would think.
Swirly, surging breeze almost. So Casey by 8 points as they chase win number 17 of their season. As Jace mentioned, they're going to finish on top of the VFL ladder, and you'd imagine host a qualifying final here. It's going to be one of the more interesting things of this upcoming VFL final series is probably for the first time in a little while, it won't be all roads leading to Port Melbourne necessarily every day of the final series across the first 3 weeks. So Luke Dunstan with the free. Didn't get a great piece of it. There'll be a trio of players flying for both sides. Mitch Brown at ground level tries to get back to his feet. Wiedemann's turn. It spits through a couple of sets of legs. Harms is on the scene, as is Dowd. Eventually comes wide to Plowman. His kick wider again. Dunstan already appealing for the out-of-bounds deliberate before it even found its way there. Round the ground score coming away now as we're at half-time at the SCG, and the Swans keeping the Pies at bay, but it's a close one. 2 goals apiece to Sam Glover and Joel Amati so far for their sides.
Winner of that one goes a game clear inside the 4 with 1 to play. There's a Carlton player down off the ball here, inside 50. It's Murkoff by the looks.
And the ruckman who He just didn't get back up from that big, strong contest at centre-half forward, and this would be not ideal for the Blues. He hasn't moved. Play halted at the moment.
He's in some distress. Keeping that right leg flat and extended.
Yep.
He has had knee issues previously too, Alex Murkov.
Let's see if we can spot something here. Here he is in that contest. Down he goes.
Just paddled it out, and it looked quite innocuous, didn't it? He immediately clutches at the outside of the right knee, which is not a good sign.
Maybe just a twist, and given Carlton weren't planning on playing De Koning in the ruck very much this afternoon, that sort of throws their balance out. Jesse Glass-McCaskill's always been their backup ruckman, so maybe it becomes De Koning and Glass-McCaskill.
Well, these seem to be the days where you can get away with an undersized ruckman who can do a little bit more bullocking work around the footy. In some respects, we saw that from the Blues in the AFL last night with Patrick Cripps taking forward 50 stoppages at times.
And Jack Silvani as well, just providing the extra body on the deck, Brownie, that big body that can just force a scrap.
He'd been developing well, Murkov, the former volleyballer, and it's sad to see him hopping off, but they have got De Koning straight into the ruck.
And Aquay comes on, he'll push forward. So it's Casey by 8 points, almost 8 minutes gone, second term. Great to have you with us on 7 VFL Match of the Day. Sydney and Collingwood coming up from the SCG later this afternoon. Will Hayes turns, delivers back over the wing, but Buntine, the veteran, cuts it off. And he'll go for distance. Durden lent on Wiedemann, couldn't complete the mark. Handball on the bounce came from George to Harms, who's taken down by Hayes. Umpire says throw it in. So James Harms up to 13 touches. Paddy Dow's had 13 for the Blues, the two Medi subs from last night. Didn't get an opportunity, but finding plenty of the football this afternoon.
Again, the benefit of the scheduling that this game following the AFL match between the two sides, so the Medi subs could get a game. Harms trots out of the protected zone as De Koning sends in the direction of Glass-McCaskill, who tries to clear a path, but a little bit similar to the conversation we've been having about Casey's make-up in their forward 50. There doesn't seem to be a crummer having an impact so far for Carlton. It's usually that man in the centre of your screen, and Ned Carl, who's been a magnificent addition to their team after coming off the Essendon AFL list. He's kicked 23 goals this season, but the small men for both sides yet to have an impact as De Koning grabs from the ruck. Hayes went to handball and instead decides to draw Munro to the outside. A little kick from the outside of the boot will head its way backwards. And right now, Matt Buntine is the player between Carlton and the goals every time.
Tomlinson drops the mark. Pressure now comes from Aquay. Tomlinson kept his head, kicks to a contest, and
that's too easy.
Smith got to the front very easily on Plowman.
First the uncontested mark from Buntine. Then you got Tomlinson, who dropped a mark and still had time to recover, pick it up and find a target.
Radovanovic crashed the pack. Durden. Handball to Dozzy. Another one of these talented youngsters for the Blues. He's taken to the line by Kobe George. That's Patrick Dozzy, 19-year-old from Research in the Northern Knights. Plays his senior footy at Montmorency.
If I'm Daniel O'Keefe, I'd be sending the runner straight out to the forwards and just say, every time the kick comes in, you have to create a contest. There's absolutely no excuses not to try and bring that ball to ground.
Patrick Dozzy, a name to keep an ear out for on draft night. May well be in the mix. He's had a great year. Carroll, who's getting involved in this game. Off the boot of Glass-McCaskill. Bowie, Turner, hits the inside kick to Laurie. Blues got to be careful now as they look to spread the field here, Casey. Here's Buntine involved again. He's got McVie short. Decides he'll go longer. Kicks it to 50. Smith sets himself. Durden timed it well and got it to the line.
Sam Durden, his second AFL life after time off the North Melbourne list with Glenelg in the Sandful. He had chalked up almost 50 VFL games in his time on the North Melbourne list, wearing a variety of jumpers, North Ballarat, Werribee, and then, of course, the Kangas during the establishment of their standalone side. Dunstan wins the clearance. Tumbling ball is wide. It gets through both Wiedemann and the aforementioned Durden.
He was basically picked up and played the following week, didn't he? Straight in round 14 versus the Tigers. His only game for the Blues, but a rock-solid defender. You know what you're going to get from Sam Durden week in, week out. 26 years of age, still got plenty of good footy ahead of him.
It's been the part of the ground that the majority of the Blues injuries seem to have been hit with this season. Glass McCasker looking for Fogarty. White, game 100, toe poke. Back to his feet and able to somehow find a handball there was Radovanovic. Chance here for Steele, who's clever. Can he get boot to ball? Durden denies him that opportunity. And Casey just meters from their third.
When you are playing that surge mentality as well, you want to try and surge it forward, not backwards. Both of those handballs from the Blues then gave up territory and missed their targets.
Glass McCasker. And it's rushed through for a minor score.
So they just built pressure as they were forcing the ball backwards, not the other way.
Sincona takes some territory and then thumps it long. Dossie's the target. Got a couple to beat. Well done by Allison. Just belts it to the line. So if you're going to face Casey on any sort of weather, Brownie, not a bad day to get them. When you look at their goal scorers, Mitch Brown, marking player. Van Ruin, marking player. Chandler not there. Laurie's the small. White's a mid and Wiedemann's a marking player. So it sort of negates their #1 contested marking power, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a great equaliser, isn't it? It just brings this game to effort, territory and basic things like that you hear time and time out by the coaches.
Averaging 102 points a game. They're sitting on 17 midway through the second term.
And taking your opportunities because they're going to be few and far between.
So 7 scoring shots to 3. A 9-point game as we head towards the mid part of this second term. Spencer got the tap, but Dow got the crumb. North has to be quick. It was ricocheted off his boot. Trudgeon couldn't control it. Spits out the side. Munro puts his head down. Well done by Ma. Put the pressure on. Got a smother in. Dow took the tackler on. Umpire said play on. Quick kick, Radovanovic. Body work came in there from Machete. Bowie's taken down from behind. The tackler, Carroll. Baker picks it up. To a dangerous spot. Plowman kept his eyes on it. Couldn't control it. Hayes. Durden. Bends it across his body. Goes for territory. Tracking it back is McVie. He gets there first. Dozzy lays a tackle. He dishes it off to Buntine.
Who's got work to do on the left, and he'll find a target at Smith. Joel Smith galloping away, marches through the 50, pins the ears back and gets it to the line. Durden's hand looked to be on the other side. Casey have their third. And perhaps some bad memories of the defensive indiscretions last night in the AFL with the Blues. Sam Durden's hand half a metre the wrong side of the line to get the touch on it.
After Harry Petty last night touched it twice in the last quarter to save goals for Melbourne that ultimately saw them win the game. Check the Max's tyre replay, Brownie.
Yeah, Buntine's been involved in everything. Terrific kick there, which just opened up some time and space. A little bit of individual brilliance on a day that goals are hard to come by. That is an absolute beauty from Smith.
Here's another look. Oh, gee, that's touch and go, isn't it? Umpire in great position.
No DRS down here at VFL level.
No Snicko, no DRS. Let's head boundary side. Luke Dunstan joins us. Luke, thanks very much for your time.
No worries, boys.
You know what it was going to be when you rolled up this morning. It's going to be an old-fashioned slog, and that's exactly how it's panning out.
Yeah, absolutely. Living Bayside, it started getting darker and colder every 5 minutes on the drive down here, so we knew what we're in for, and yeah, pretty clearly they're just trying to make it a scrap, which, you know, I actually think suits us at the end of the day. We've got some pretty tough contested balls that are going head-to-head in there, so it's been a good contest so far.
Luke, undefeated all season. How do you keep the motivation up to continue to try and keep this this undefeated season alive?
Oh, look, it's actually not too hard. We've got a really good bunch of guys that are Casey players down here that really drive the energy each week and make it really fun to play. So, yeah, it makes it, it's easy when you're winning, so you don't have to try too hard.
Your own game this year, you've been dominating at VFL level, 26 possessions at VFL level, 5 AFL games as well. Is the year panning out as you thought it might? Great opportunity to get into a successful program?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was chasing when I came to Melbourne in the off-season. So, yeah, to playing in where I think I'm going to be in the game and winning games each week, it's been really exciting, and yeah, it makes it easy to get up for each week.
Luke, first time a lot of us have had a look at Blake Howes up close. What have your impressions been of his first AFL year?
Yeah, he's been awesome. He impressed everyone really right from the start when he arrived through the doors. He's his work rate, and yeah, he's got a fair bit of talent, his skills and that on show, and he's a really good frame as well. So he was unlucky with the injury he had, but yeah, he's worked really hard all year with Joel Smith in rehab, and he's starting to see the fruits of it now.
Luke, we appreciate your time. Best of luck for the afternoon and for the weeks ahead.
Thanks, mate.
Luke Dunstan joining us. We appreciate his time as Lockie Fogarty goes back and slots a really important goal for the Blues, their second. And Brownie just keeps them in touch. Margin back to 9 points. And on days like today, when it is a hard slog, you just need that scoreboard nourishment to keep you going.
Yeah, you got to keep it ticking over, keep in touch with these really good sides, because you know that they're going to have a really good burst of 5 or 10 minutes where Casey can kick multiple goals quickly and extend that margin. So that certainly helps.
So Lockie Fogarty came across from Geelong, start of last season. Played 17 AFL games, just 3 this year. And at VFL level, 12th game this afternoon, averaging 25 possessions, 5 clearances and 6 tackles a game.
Not enough fist on the attempted handball from Baker, so Fogarty takes advantage of the free. Steele takes advantage of getting out the back as Mitch White sends it forward. Kemp will try and come in from the side. Harms the crummer. He had House fanning off him, but Ivanovic went after the footy, couldn't gather. Munro finds a hand pass and an exit, flicks it to Howes, mouth wide open, Wiedemann charging at it, handball on hands and knees. The clever Mitch Brown puts it across the face, out of bounds on the full. Steam pouring out of Mitch Brown just shows those of you who are nice and comfy this Sunday afternoon in front of the heat of the fire on the couch with a blanket over the knees that it's rather fresh at Casey Fields.
Hayes thumps it long down the line to Koning, the bodywork on Spencer, but couldn't complete the grab, then wins it at ground level, flips it to Dow, had to be quick and was, to Fogarty. Off the back foot, it's cut off by Tomlinson playing in front of Dozzy. Tomlinson back inside 50. Brown works to the front, couldn't quite complete it in the end. Had to fight his own man for it. Plowman, Dow, Lewis. Dangerous one for North. He goes to the voice of Durden, who manages to get it on the boot. Was ripped off his kick over the head of Dow. Munro in there to lay a tackle on him. Paddy got the handball free. Fogarty bursts through. Trudgeon's going to get mown down by Joel Smith, but the Blues still have the football. Machete to North, to half forward. And that's going to help. A downfield free kick as North was dealt with late. Paid advantage. Wide open goal square. Runs to 40 across the face. It's still going to work for the Blues. Because sneaking in the blind side was Patrick Dozzy, and he'll kick from the top of the goal square to make it a 3-point game. Carlton get their third. Best ball movement of the afternoon from Carlton. And they put together back-to-back goals. And we're back to a 3-point game, heading a time on in the second term.
It was really good, wasn't it? A little bit of over-possession there with handball. They managed to work it all the way from the backfield up through. A lucky down-the-field free kick, I would suggest, but terrific ball movement. Yeah, it was outstanding ball movement, wasn't it? They were over-possessing a little bit by hand, but they were working the ball forward. And the down-the-field free kick certainly helped there. You just saw at the top of your screen on the Maxis Tyre replay, that slight push in the back. They took advantage, and shot on goal or pass, I'll let you decide, but very good ball movement.
Frustration there if you're Daniel Turner, who, watching off-ball, had done a super job to play in front of Ned Carl, but know that he could impact the contest if the ball went in that direction. In the end, he would have taken the intercept mark. It wasn't to be, and suddenly Carlton are well and truly in this match. Fogarty's been one of the drivers. Tumbling ball looking for the fist from Bowie. In from the side, committing. Good tackle of Quay. And some territory time now for the Blues. The game almost playing out in quarter number 2 as it did in the first, where Casey had the lion's share of play in territory early on, and then Carlton were able to square it up. Paul Rebashini, former Frankston player, umpiring duties 1 of 4 this afternoon. The Hayes tackle on Baker lingered. Dow flicked it forward, and Buntine with yet another intercept mark has been crucial.
Oh, he's been superb. They just structure themselves up so well. Tomlinson, Buntine.
Baker sends it high. Wiedemann, it rushed onto him. Again, the Blues have the numbers in the air and on the ground, though. Hayes' hand pass was impacted. He goes in after it again. Harms at his belt buckle. It somehow comes through to Sincotta. Turnover, steal. Casey out the back, skidding ball for Brown, and once again the head snaps back with a level of frustration for the typically casual Mitch Brown, knowing that another opportunity's gone begging.
You'll spend more of your day frustrated than happy as a forward today, I think, the way that the conditions and the ball movement is going to come inside 50. He already kicked one, though.
Almost 22 minutes gone. Casey's lead cut back to 3 points. Back-to-back goals from the Blues. DeConing the tap. Harms immediately wrapped up by Fogarty. Trudgeon ducked under a tackle, but coughed it up. Quick kick inside 50 from Steele. Nice gather from White. Nice turn, nice give. Can Harms get free? He can't. Good pressure from the Blues. Durden, he's under some pressure of his own now.
Rush it.
North, will he rush it through? He will.
You can rush it if you're under frontal pressure that close to the goal line. Some players forget it cost them on that occasion. Thought his way through it perfectly.
Low flat kick from Sincotta. Nicely controlled out there by Trudgeon, and these are certainly Joel Trudgeon-like conditions this afternoon. Loves the tough stuff. He's had a big part to play in this opening half for the Blues. Aquay at the front, it'll get over the back. Buntine couldn't get back onto it. Dozzy gives it off to Ma, who's getting busy. Drives a kick towards Crocker. Nice punch away from Allison. Crocker at ground level. Turns. Handball poor behind Ma. And the moment lost.
Well, he did look up, though, and saw that Casey again had just dropped off their direct opponent. So if he did drive it long inside forward 50, more than likely it was going to be turned over. So tried to invent that handball and just missed the target. But again, it was some good ball movement from the back half from Carlton.
So margin at 4 points, 2 goals apiece in the quarter. Last two of them to the Blues through Fogarty and Dozy. Good to see Brody Kemp returning to the action a little bit earlier on after being concussed in a clash with Joel Smith in the opening minute of the match. Alex Murkov is the other player the Blues have had injured. We're waiting for further news on the state of his injury that happened earlier in this second quarter. Lower leg injury of some sort. We think perhaps a knee. Bell and DeConing tangle. Fogarty again at the coalface. Bowie again in front of the Carlton forwards. So Jake Bowie, one of 15 Melbourne-listed players in this Casey lineup. Needing to get to work here, the ladder leaders. Brown trapped behind Radovanovic, almost got the one-hander. Van Ruin ran over the top of it. High one on Mitch Brown, so free kick will go the way of the home side, but the game flicks into slow play, which allows Carlton to pack their defence here.
Yeah, they folded right back. Every Carlton player in the back half.
So Brown will have Wiedemann, White, Van Ruin as the trio in the air. Gets through the hands of Wiedemann, Radovanovic. Wiedemann hunts for it again. It spills free towards Woden. Kemp in there for the Blues alongside Tom North. It's ruck and maul stuff. It somehow comes free, and there was almost a boot on that ball to create an opportunity for Casey. Instead, it meanders its way through for their 7th behind.
Mitch Brown getting his boot on that in the middle of that scrum. Dan O'Keefe might be wondering how on earth did Sam Wiedemann, amongst all that traffic, get a free run at that mark, but he couldn't hang on to it. Hayes hugs the boundary line, and Harms punches it away from Fogarty.
Oscar Baker had a terrific year. You mentioned off the top this year, the VFL Team of the Year. If you're an AFL-listed player for the first time, you can still make it, which is, we've been sort of pushing for quite a while.
Yeah, because if you're like Oscar and you haven't played any AFL games at all this year,
you don't get that recognition of having a terrific VFL year just because you're on an AFL list. So he will certainly be in the mix, as will a lot of these Casey Demon players when you're 16-0.
Yep. The amount of games you play for the season obviously comes into it, factors into it heavily. If you're an AFL player that's only played a handful, you won't be in the Team of the Year, but if you've played predominantly at VFL level and you've done well, you deserve to be recognised. And the mark taken there by Radovanovic.
Blues defence has held up really well. Smart football late in the first half, not biting too much off. Slow ball movement, long down the line. They'd be wrapped with their first half.
Kemp high towards the wing. Glass McCasker, Bowie over the top. Slaps it away. Good of you, Brownie, there to sponsor Casey Fields there? Is that your property group, the Brown Property Group, the Property Mogul? Something we need to know?
Well, it would be, but unfortunately I don't own any property.
I think that's a former blue in Fraser Brown.
Is it Fraser Brown?
Yeah.
So margin of 5. Late into the second, Glass McCasker, one of the goal kickers, and also ruck option gets the ball forward. De Koning was in late. All and sundry were happy for that ball to bounce. Munro went looking for White. Baker was wider. Needs to pick it up cleanly now. Dow with good pressure. So Paddy Dow, game high 20 possessions so far. 3 kicks, 17 handballs. 12 of his possessions contested, as is the way this day is requiring. We've had steady rain through the entire match so far.
Doing a lot of the grunt work in tight, isn't he? He'd like to get that balance up a little bit more, get some more kicking into his game.
Hayes eventually brought to ground by Bailey Laurie. We'll have the Blues in action again next Sunday at 7 VFL AFL doubleheader from the MCG. What a win for footy fans. Carlton and Collingwood. 11:45 start for the VFL match, which is going to have big finals ramifications, as is a monstrous AFL game.
On air from 11:30, and also on a Saturday afternoon game next week as well. Richmond and Frankston from Punt Road as the Tigers fight to get into the top 8. So 2 critical games next weekend.
Another intercept mark in the back half.
Bell, Bowie's kick smothered. This opens up an opportunity for the Blues. Quick kick inside 50. Crocker's got 2 or 3 to beat. Carl in there. Gets rid of his Melbourne opponent. Quick kick. Buntine. Sliding in is Munro. Scrambling defence from the Ds.
So the Blues forward line, they've just got to round up that spare. It's Buntine on occasions. Even a little Jake Bowie has become the spare when his man has pushed up the ground to a stoppage, but they can't continue to concede these intercept marks.
Baker goes long towards Van Ruin. Gathered in there by Steele. Bounces it forward. Plowman versus Brown. Ball dribbles inside 50. Plowman lunges and timed it well. Won the football. Got it to Ranovanovic. Back towards the wing, but D's set up well again. This is Harms. Casey looking for a late goal in this term. Can the Blues hang on? It's punched away to the front. Van Ruin turns, gives it off. Dunstan smothered off his boot. Durden, high kick. De Koning sets himself. Worked underneath it by Tomlinson. It'll get to the back for Harms. He's confronted by Hayes. Stands up in the tackle. Releases the handball. Baker. Harms. Going in ever-decreasing circles. Bowie slips past Dow, but steps out.
It's good defence. Hayes on a couple of occasions there, just not allowing himself to get stepped, and even though the tackle didn't absolutely stick, it put enough pressure on Harms to force him to handball. Been a bit unlucky, Will Hayes.
68 on screen. There was Mitch Machete, a virtual home game for him, given he's hailing from Phillip Island, where he's played his local footy. Played in a premiership down there as a 15-year-old under Bo Vernon, who did spend some time as a Casey Scorpion. Bell in the ruck. Couldn't slap it free. Carlton will take the clearance. De Koning and Tomlinson had hold of each other. Off the ground, Keverly Carl. Super intercept, though, from Turner, and he might quickly turn defence into attack here. Woden happy to wait for it to unfold in front of him. Elects to kick wide, and it's shallow as well. Plowman on the stretch couldn't mark, and Brown had committed thinking he would mark it. Brown then laid the bump. Tackle applied. That was strong work in close there from Lewis. Turns it over for Plowman. Crucial fumble, though, there from Machete. Fumbly as well was Kemp. Steele low and hard with the head.
It's like a cake of soap.
Woden needing to tackle. There's a whistle, a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Blues. A sizable advantage for Carroll. Hands it off to Kemp. Back to Carroll, perhaps in range, but he's got a couple of players to the left. The clever Crocker snuck into space here, and he's the man you'd want to entrust with the opportunity to try and give the visitors the lead at half-time.
Yeah, thought their way through that really well. Then they knew they had numerical advantage running and carrying. Used handball, and then the kick inside 50 was perfect. That is not.
Get enough of it and got the behind post. So the margin remains in favour of the home side at 5.
Approaching the 31-minute mark. It'll be long quarters this afternoon, given the amount of stoppages. Tomlinson, Jason to the behind post. Durden smacks it away from Wiedemann.
It's going to be a crucial battle, that one.
So 1 mark for Wiedemann and none for Van Ruin on a day when it's really tough for the marking forwards.
And that mark from Wiedemann was very early in the first quarter, so pretty well held since then.
Spencer at the front against Glass McCasker, who wins the football. In the end, it flips out. Sincotta off to Carroll, wants his left boot from 50, winds up, doesn't catch all of it. De Koning, it might work. He's got it.
And that's the benefit of having the big man standing at full forward and not having to ruck all day. The kick had a little bit of height to it. Even though it was a 2v1, he was able to fully stretch then and just too big for Tomlinson.
So to give the Blues the lead in the shadows of half-time, steps around, and Carlton are in front. De Koning gets his first of the afternoon.
And they've kicked 3 in a row now, the Blues. Really worked their way back into this contest on the back of some great grunt work around the stoppages. Their tackle pressure has been high. They've been getting the ball inside the forward 50 much deeper. And that's a great passage of play on the Maxis Tyre replay screen. A kick to advantage that had the appropriate height for a big man to take the grab.
So similar shades of the opening term. D's on top early. Carlton working their way into it the longer the quarter stretches on. They trail by 3 points at quarter time. They've got their noses in front for the first time this afternoon. Glass McCasker, but his tap went straight to Laurie. Swings it across his body to half forward. Kemp stood up, got the fist to it. At ground level, Hayes will get there first. Sweeps onto the football, flips a handball wide. Kick comes from Lewis. Arriving late and doing well was Trudgeon.
And that's all you need to do. Just bring the ball to ground on those occasions. They're plus 10 in clearances now, Carlton. They've got on top in the contested possession count and they're out tackling them. So these conditions are really suiting the Blues.
Ricochets off Spencer's leg. Bowie tackled by Fogarty and Dow in there as well. And those Carlton mids have really got to work in the second term. Dow's up to 20 possessions. Carroll's getting involved. He's got 14, 12 to Fogarty.
Yeah, they've got an appetite for the contest, don't they? Look at that. 4 Carlton players around Harms.
And Hayes has been good as well. Here is Fogarty. So some of these AFL-listed mids for the Blues having an impact. Dow run down from behind. Just found his boot. Now Baker the other way's got the speed. Runs away from Fogarty. Kicks it inside 50. Sincotta at the front. Couldn't control it. Durden does. And they get it out through Hayes. Can he hit a target on the way out? He can.
Oh, that's a great kick.
Ollie Sanders has it. He turns and goes. Carl tracking it back in the air. Body pressure came from Howes. Forced the spillage. Carl at ground level kept his feet. Crocker, it's a 2-on-1. He goes back with the flight. Blues have got the numbers. Crocker run down from behind. Well done, Buntine.
He did really well then, Buntine. 2v1. Had to bring that ball to ground without infringing. And then tie him up. Not allow Crocker to just tap that ball out because De Koning was circling.
Spencer with strength. Allison, quick kick and it'll work. Mark taken by Woden. He'll go wide to Bowie. And the siren will sound for half-time. Good second term in the end for the Blues. They kicked 3 goals to 2. It was a goal apiece in the opening term. Carlton getting on top late in that quarter. Goals to Dozzy, Glass McCasker, Fogarty and De Koning. Goal kickers for the D's, Brown, Howes and Joel Smith. So it's 4-2-26 Carlton. Casey 3-7-25. Blues needing a win.
Comfortably. Let's see if they can do that this afternoon in these tough conditions that probably don't suit the way that Casey like to play their football.
3-quarter time at the SCG. Sydney by 17 points over Collingwood as we start the third term. Sevens VFL match of the day. Casey fields his nudge.
Glass McCasker jumped straight into Bell at that first ruck contest. Flung out in the tackle. It was Carroll who's hopping, and see Dow and Laurie going at it left of screen. So Carlton hitting the front at the 32-minute mark of the second quarter, their first lead of the afternoon. Bowie's going to be the first one onto it, but he's fumbly and concedes 10 metres and a hand pass that goes through the legs of Turner. A triangle of Blues around him. The first on the scene was Hayes. Marr threw it out to Hayes. Desperate hand from Deacon Smith, who's lost the long sleeves at half-time. White to Harms. statue in transit was Jack Bell, and Tom North playing across half-back this afternoon, the former Docker, with an early intercept. So
done some nice things, North to Savo.
Carlton protecting a 1-point advantage.
That wasn't one of them.
It was,
right on cue.
look, he's had a bit of a laugh. He can't believe that that's come off his boot like that.
Fortunately for the Blues, it pitched inside the line.
Yep, so they get a stoppage right on the wing here.
Carlton fighting for their final survival. That 1-point lead has lifted them up to 6th position right now. Richmond lurking next week. They play Frankston, can take that spot from them. The Blues can win today. A little bit less pressure on next week when they play Collingwood at the MCG. A bid to make the finals for the first time since 2011 in the VFL. Here is North. Handball almost picked off by Brown, but he had a fumble. Wiedemann gives it off. White cruises to 50. Kicks towards the pocket. Smith tracks it back through his fingers.
Didn't get a chance to chat about the backstory of the Mitch White 100 games T-shirt. The brainchild of his mum, Denise. Jack Hutchins, former teammate and captain who's here watching on this afternoon, said Denise did the T-shirts for Jack Hutchins' 100th. They had to roll out the same merch for Mitch today, so there's about 20 of them getting around Casey Fields today.
Great servant. Spent 3 years on Melbourne's list from 2015 to 17, then stuck around. He's been a key part of this program ever since. Captain since 2019. He'll have a big part to play in this second half, no doubt. Plowman gets the kick into the middle of the ground, coming out to meet it and taking it cleanly with Smith. Handball sets Buntine a task, runs into 3, taken to ground, ball spills out. Umpire said play on. Harms suffers a similar fate. Maher in there working hard. There is Mitch White. Tries to get it out only as far as Dow. Smith goes again. Toe pokes inside 50. Brown. Harms bounces off Carroll. Releases a handball. Baker on the outside from 45 goes long, but misses to the left, to right rather. Hard work from the Ds, but they stuck at it.
Yeah, it's just terrific pressure on the ball carrier there. You saw Blues jumpers flying into screen. They've really come out with an intent to make life difficult for Casey.
Sincotta runs 5 metres out of the square in search of Glass McCasker. Tomlinson stayed down. Kick flicks its way forward. Plowman was on the right side of it and then was able to bounce back up to him. He's able to work his way through a couple. Maher through the handball inboard. Perhaps not the originally intended target was Dozy, and Laurie can draw and try and send the Demons forward. Deacon Smith squeezes the kick with just a metre of target towards Wiedemann, who works off his line, kicks low down, and it's a bit of a bob each way, almost a soccer cross for Mitch Brown in the end, and it's been a bit uncharacteristic, un-Casey-like how they've been moving the ball in the front half since probably the midpoint of the second quarter.
It just over handball, didn't it? Plowman had so much space in front of him. He looked up, he didn't see anyone there, so he tried to create a handball. Kick to space. You know, there's nothing wrong with getting your forwards to turn around and be charging back into that space, soccering off the ground, just getting the ball going forward. Instead, they turned it over. It nearly cost them.
Here is Plowman. Little toe poke from White, only as far as Lou, couldn't control it. Mitch Brown comes in. North with his head over it. Smith finds the boot, spirals towards the pocket. Out of bounds on the full.
One thing the Blues defenders have been outstanding at today is when the ball's been on the ground, they've just put enough pressure on the ball carrier that they haven't been able to conjure up any clean shots at goal. We've seen a lot go out on the full or rush through from behind this afternoon.
Dow goes for distance, a quiet ground level in the Carroll direction. Harms tries to power his way out, but Jack Carroll shown a bit today. This has Jack Carroll. And have a look at the live ladder. Now that 1 point from Casey that levels the margin sees Carlton drop from 6th to 8th. That's how tight things are at the moment.
1 point.
1 point cost you 2 spots on the ladder.
Amazing.
Plenty more to play out still, particularly with that Sydney-Collingwood game heading now into its final quarter. Blues work it forward. Deacon Smith pushed out of it by Crocker, who might leave him in his wake. It bounces up for him. Bowie gets him a perfectly executed tackle. Bowie looks a little bit sore too.
He's only a little man, but geez, he's strong in the contest. You don't see him get stepped or not stick tackles like this.
Gets the body in the tackle rather than reaching with the arms, but he is pretty sore as he barely musters a gallop away from the contest to take his defensive position.
You'd expect Crocker on size and strength to swat him away there, but Bowie would have none of it.
And the smaller man in the ruck contest, Glass McCasker, earning a free kick against Jack Bell. So Carlton into attack. De Koning won't get a fly at it. A holding free kick, and umpire Paul Rebashini's been heavily involved. And Jake Bowie down again. He's looking for an out here.
Different contest. Gets up hobbling again in the aftermath of that.
Cops one on the way through here.
Yeah, just his feet got taken from him in that contest.
Well, if it's ribs, every little movement is going to be felt. So Tom De Koning, who kicked the goal just prior to half-time to give the Blues their first lead of the day, can't become the first multiple goal kicker on the ground. But
important point, though. They go back to 6.
Margin back. It's going to be like the old world of sport, watching the two cyclists on the rollers for the next 45 minutes.
You would think the Blues have the advantage of the breeze in this third term. It's maybe not as pronounced as it was in the second. We saw a good fly on that kick there. North taking a ground. De Koning. Radovanovic bends it off the outside of his boot. Trudgeon gets across to force a contest. Was well done. Carl pops a handball over the top. Hayes can receive. Can't get away from Deacon Smith.
Radovanovic, though, had the option to handball backwards to a stationary target or just kick it up the line and gain 30, 35 metres. It was the right decision.
So De Koning will do the ruck work inside 50 against Jack Bell. Works him off the line. Handball did no favours for Carroll. Hayes has been industrious this afternoon.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. He's skill by foot, especially coming through the corridor. He's been prepared to take a couple of risky kicks, but found his targets.
Couple of goals for Collingwood, and it is well, that's what they need. They're 11 points down, 4 minutes into the last term. Can they find a couple? They're locked in this battle with Carlton and a couple of others. Those last few spots in the 8, a game between Essendon and Werribee, won't affect the top 8. That's a tight one as well. Keep you posted here on 7 VFL rather, as Durden gathers, delivers back inside 50. Can he turn the defence around? Kemp's gone forward, got one hand to it, couldn't control it, then lays a tackle on the deck. Working hard. Bowie's taken down as well. Here's Kemp trying to muscle his way through, taken to the line. So Brodie Kemp forward. He spent a little bit of time forward. Quite capable at both ends of the ground.
So the Demons trying to keep the O intact. The margin back to 5 points at the SCG. Collingwood making a rush at Sydney at the SCG. Baker gets the clearing ball, but it's wide and not to the advantage of Wiedemann. It bounces on its point, and happy to find the line is Radovanovic. So Casey have been shaded in both contested ball and ground ball since quarter time. It's got to be the MO for the side to win this game today. Is if you're going to win the contest, you're likely to win the game. Yes, they've had some blemishes with 8 behind so far, but Carlton have had a sense of intent about them, and perhaps for the first time this year, Casey not so much, Brownie.
No, exactly right. This game at the moment being played on Carlton's terms, and some of those rushed or those behinds have been rushed or forced wide and under pressure, so I can't think of too many easy set shots that Casey have missed this afternoon.
Trudgeon wrapped up by Dunstan.
Real arm wrestle at the moment, and in terms of territory, Carlton playing this game in their forward half.
Carroll, there's a free kick. It's going the D's way. Some breaking news out of Sydney. Jordan De Goey laid out for the Pies this afternoon. We'll take you to the SCG straight after this game. Sydney and Collingwood, one of the most important games of the home and away season. Huge repercussions on that race for the top 4. Baker and the top 2 for that matter. Trudgeon, Sincotta. High ball floats wide over the fence and into that very smart group of people who have decided to take shelter under the scoreboard on the far side of the ground. Baker will have the resultant free kick. Blues by a point as we hit the 10-minute mark in the third. Oscar Baker's 13th touch coming up.
There's no one on the mark.
So Hayes decided to stand 5 metres off. Baker towards the pocket. Should be an easy kill for the Carlton defence, but Radovanovic didn't get it out. Harms dropped the football, and the Blues will have it through Michael Lewis. Turned 20 yesterday, youngster playing his local footy at St Bede's Mentone. Thrown into the heat of the action against the most potent offence in the competition and doing well. Baker emerges. White spent it before he controlled it. Smith bumped off his kick, but it'll work for Bailey Laurie. He looks at an option, goes the 45, finds Harms. Harms then chips inside. Good ball movement from the D's. Tough kick coming up for Mitch Brown, but they worked it well.
Yeah, they protected the corridor pretty well then, the Carlton defenders. Forced Casey out wide, and if you are going to concede a mark inside 50, that's probably the place that you can afford to do it. This will take his absolute best.
He's kicked 30-21 for the year. Tough kick. And look at it hold up in the breeze.
Just about impossible.
Towards the top of the goal square. Massive players around this one. Carlton will need to be tidy. Busting out was Woden. Maybe a chance for Dunstan. Vital tackle in there from Durden. Holds him up.
Luke Dunstan perhaps not having the influence he would have anticipated so far. 7 possessions, averaging 26 at VFL level this season. Wiedemann threw them out of the ruck. That's a superb goal. Now there's going to be a bit of a conversation.
Multiple Blues saying it was touched off the boot.
The all clear pending, and it is touched.
A change of mind there, I reckon, by the goal umpire as he discussed that with the field umpire. He was definitely going to pay that a goal.
Take a look at the replay.
Great strength.
If anyone, is it perhaps the hands of Durden and Lou to the left of screen there. So we're tied again at 27. Tomlinson almost the mark. They can rush this forward here, the Blues. Dow, Turner's the deepest defender, and Aquay and Crocker got in each other's way, but that's a super tackle from Kemp to stop Buntine in his tracks.
Good intent from both players. Aquay looking for his first possession of the game. I reckon he's thrown Crocker out of the way on that occasion.
So Carlton march it and get some territory.
Jake Spencer, first VFL game since 2017. Great to see him back. Went to Aspley for a couple of years and playing local footy at Doncaster. Majak Dor retired. Melbourne put the call out and Jake said, sure, happy to come back.
Incredible.
Well, he was on the Casey list when the VFL season was going to get restarted in mid-2020 without the AFL line sides. He was prepared to return to Casey, but of course we didn't get that restart.
I had to double check it was the same Jake Spencer. It's been that long.
Did the ruck work there. McVee comes through, can't control it. Well done. By Ma, steps through some traffic, gives it off to Carroll. His kick was just restricted. Kemp, well played Turner, straight line, it won the football. Huge win there. Laurie, Baker, can he get through the tackle? No, he can't. Turnover comes. Can Carl hit a target inside 50? No, he can't. It's still alive. Kemp gathers, can't find his boot. Play on the call. In comes Fogarty. He leaves a tackle on Munro, which considered a dump. And it'll be a Casey ball.
There's been some great tackles delivered so far today, and that was arguably the best out there on the half-back flank. Oscar Baker, he's got wheels. He tried his best to step Michael Lewis, and Lewis had none of it.
Casey perhaps still looking a little bit for the perfect play. It's not really the conditions for it, and we've only had a handful of marks between the teams in the quarter. We can let you know around the grounds, Collingwood have hit the front, 50 playing 49, 9 minutes into the final quarter at the SCG. So the live ladder, well, it's live snakes and ladders as there's movement aplenty. And this result would add a totally different dimension to things. Your live ladder predictors normally are punching in wins or losses, draws, add a totally different look. And if Carlton can edge their way back in front here, well, they'll jump a couple of spots, as we know. So still a lot to play out right across an enticing second last Sunday of the VFL home and away season as Munro pulls up a little bit ginger of that ball going across the line.
And you see the importance of Collingwood hitting the front there. Suddenly they go a game clear in fourth spot, and Sydney are now back in the scrum fighting for those last few spots. It's going to be a great finish to the season.
We're going to hear machinations and permutations a hell of a lot.
And combinations. Well, we got penultimate around away. We've been waiting all year for that.
Yeah, that a box that needs to be ticked.
Yeah, that's just a stock standard commentary line. The penultimate round. Here's Bowie, receives from Buntine. So scores level midway through this third term. Bowie keeps it low and flat towards Wiedemann. It beats that contest, gets to Plowman at the back. He receives a little handball there from Trudgeon. Quick kick, and the Blues are a chance to get it out through Machete. Down the line, Aquay the target. Did it pitch inside? It did. So the Blues get a stoppage up on the wing once again. There's Dom Aquay. He's got Corey Allison for company. Aquay in his first season at the Blues as a Category B rookie.
First ever Carlton Academy player. came through the academy. And
yep, to be drafted.
From the Northern Knights. So, still finding his feet. It's been hard for him this afternoon, but he's got the leg speed and the ability to step up and hit the scoreboard at the right time.
Glass McCasker takes possession, but going nowhere as he's wrapped up by Spencer and Harms. Thrust into the ruck. Jesse Glass McCasker with the cut knee to Murkov, which has ruled him out of the rest of the afternoon. Munro taken off the football. Again, some good, strong tackling there. I think that might have been Machete again. It was. Well done, Mitch Machete, 18-year-old. We've talked about him from Phillip Island, Gippsland under-18s.
And it was on Bowie too.
He's had a rough quarter.
Again.
Yeah, there'll be an ice bath followed by a lot of Radox, you'd imagine, for Jake Bowie coming out of this game.
Not sure you need the ice bath today.
Carroll forward, Allison out bodies Aquay, and Casey can set up from half-back. So tied at 27. Those mark numbers show Carlton have just been prepared to try and march the ball by hand. Typically a huge fly and a heavy landing from Wiedemann. Free kick, though, will go to Jake Spencer. Quickly hands off to Baker, who slipped into his vision. Van Ruin's got a couple to beat. The crumb from Wiedemann did well to reposition. Going without it, though, was the 23rd player in Kobe George. Lou's accosted. Van Ruin. Time still for Dunstan to manufacture something. Kick forward. Hayes went the fist. What a bounce it was for Lou. Instinctive kick to try and clear it. Baker's got the arms out, and he'll be rewarded.
Don't mind that, though, from Lou. Just get it out of the dangerous area. Yes, it's been paid, deliberate out of bounds, but by the time Casey get the footy, you can send all your midfielders down. You can reposition, make sure the matchups are right. Really
ratcheting up the pressure at the moment, aren't they? They've locked it in this front half. The Blues just can't get out. To their credit, they haven't allowed them to score, but there's a sense of inevitability that they will. Here's Harms, receives from Van Ruin. Kick goes inside, dangerous. It ricochets. Did it touch anyone? It did. Minor score. Now the Blues get a chance to clear that zone. D's back in front, 3:10 to 4-3. 18 minutes gone, third term, 7 VFL. Match of the day.
Doing it in singles at the moment, Jace.
And the Swans are back in front at the SCG by 5 points, so they're back up in a fourth spot. Adams with 27 touches. McRae's had 24 for the Pies. Bowie over the top of Crocker. Here's Howes. It feels like a goal's on its way for Casey here. They just keep building. Blues have been absorbing the pressure. Steele taken to ground. Umpire said it was high. Yeah, here's a look.
He was just intent on bodylining that ball, and it certainly was.
Yeah. Hand there from Mark.
But great work there. He made that ball his sole focus, got nice and low, stayed over the footy, was clean, and thoroughly deserved that free kick on Steele.
It's been a good finisher this year. Kicked 12 goals, 7.
This has got to be left-hand goal post.
Goals hard to come by. So valuable.
See how hard that...
It's right there. Minor score. They double their lead.
It was a pretty good kick off the boot, but it just got savagely drawn right. Probably didn't have enough carry on it anyway, but another behind for the D's.
Casey doing it in increments, so 4 behind, to 1 in the quarter to date. Tricky work here for Plowman to clear the danger. That's an audacious kick, to say the least. Carl trying to trap it with both feet was Munro. Off to White. Hustles the kick deep. Van Ruin trying to get to the drop zone. Outpointed as that bouncing ball will be ushered to the line by Lewis.
Brandy, talk me through Lockie Plowman's thought process there.
He wasn't thinking. I mean, in this stage of the game, you're only down by 2 points. It's an arm wrestle. You don't want to be pulling the trigger on a tough kick in a dry, perfect conditions, let alone on a day like today, into the corridor.
Well, the upside's a mark. The downside is a goal the other way.
Yeah, but even if they mark there, it's not going to be fast ball movement.
Exactly right.
So
as White tries his hand.
He's got to play the percentages.
Chance here for Munro. Gets over the head of Van Ruin. And perhaps the best result for the Demons will be yet another boundary throw. And Jimmy Munro, conditions that are tailor-made for him in his 140th VFL match. Second in the league for tackles. The #1 hardball get player in the league is Mark Williams, right of screen, watching on alongside some of the Melbourne hierarchy.
Yeah, there's been no more reliant soldier in the VFL over the years than James Munro.
Quick hands from the Blues. It's a Melbourne ball. Oh, that was really clever play. Socket away there by Ma. High kick inside 50, back to a dangerous spot, and well done by Michael Lewis, who's been resilient down back. Here's another look. This is Xavier Martis throwing a boot at that.
That is crafty, isn't it?
Well, it is if it stays in. If it goes out on the full, the coach drags you. Low percentage play, but it worked well.
I don't think players get dragged anymore for too much. Very different game.
Durden.
More rotations based.
Now over the back, and maybe now a chance for the Blues to get out the back. It's Crocker inside 50, so he just kicks it long for space. It's going to be Crocker versus Turner, and in these conditions, hits the ground, actually gathers speed and skids and finds the line. But for Carlton, great result. They've been pinned in their back half for the last 10 minutes. Now a chance for them to maybe lock it in the front half themselves.
Yeah, getting that ball out the back from the kick in then was absolutely perfect, and you could see how quickly they transitioned from defensive.
That was the kick you were talking about earlier. Don't try to be too precise, just take the territory.
So the Blues get their 7th, or they're close to their 8th inside 50 of the quarter. Casey, you've had 10 for 5 behinds. Harms loses everything in the process. Super tackle, Marr. Kemp, pace, power. No precision, though, for Crocker. Buntine, tumbling, clearing ball. Excellent mark, Wiedemann. So Van Ruin and now Joel Smith, the deepest options for Casey. Smith against Plowman, who got a fist in. The crummer, though, is still. It's a kick in hope to a vacant goal, and it tings its way into the behind post.
Some quick ball movement. I didn't mind them taking the advantage then. If you're going to do it inside 50, it was bold, and if Kemp had got around that guy, it was a shot on goal. Great tackle pressure, though, and that kick is going out on the full. So
you can see Plowman again there, looking inside to centre-half back, nothing on, didn't know what to do, and puts it out on the full.
Yeah, he just needs to he's done some unbelievably good defensive stuff. That spoil on Smith running back with the flight was great.
De Koning couldn't complete the grab from the George kick at ground level. Dow cops it up. Here's White in game 100. Can he find his boot? He can't. He's taken to the deck. And the Blues escape again through Dow and Marr. D's build the wall behind the football, though. Turner, they're circling. 23 minutes gone. Bell arriving late. Sincotta front on contact. So the Blues need to dig in again here. A goal would be really handy for Casey in such a low-scoring, tight game. No goals for the term so far. Here's a chance, Van Ruin off his hands. Marr is gone on this occasion.
Incorrect disposal there. Just a couple of Carlton players just biting off a little bit too much. It's got to play within your capabilities, play to the conditions.
Bailey Laurie.
So again, a really tough shot on goal here. You've got to hang this out to the left.
21-10 for the season. That's a good-looking kick. That is a brilliant kick.
Wow.
Bailey Laurie, such a precise finisher. Let's have a look at this one on the INC Sports Nutrition replay. Probably of all the Casey players, he's the one you wanted to have ball in hand and a super finish. His 22nd major of the season. We can let you know Viv Blackmore-Moore has hit the scoreboard for the Pies up in Sydney, so they are 2 points clear as we're now into time on of the final quarter of the match between the Swans and Collingwood. And get ready to have the do not adjust your set ahead of the AFL game later this afternoon. Some prominent markings from a recent rugby match on the ground at the SCG. So it half looks like they're playing over the top of an NFL field in some respects. Back to the action here at Casey Fields with all of a sudden the Demons a 1.5 goal advantage, which is so significant. Good to see Jake Bowie back in full operational mode after a couple of knocks earlier in the quarter. Mark claimed by Van Ruin. Fogarty ducked through the Brown tackle and copped a high one for his troubles in the process. Has Crocker inboard but comes wide, and Blues are going to try perhaps go around Casey here. Will Hayes off the line and around Woden. In from the side will be Turner with the fist, and it gets through the legs of Tomlinson and all and sundry.
Well, there's been 8 goals kicked today. There's been plenty of other players have opportunities, but that hit from Bailey Laurie just then, don't underestimate how unbelievably good that was. With the windy conditions, he summed it up perfectly. And a really important goal too. Just gives them some breathing space here, Casey.
Can the Blues respond? They have all afternoon. White's kick touched. Awkward one for Steele to control. Munro bumped by Hayes as he kicks it. Plowman versus Van Ruin.
Brownie, the beauty of that Laurie kick is the knowledge that players have with a wet, heavy ball. If you hit the sweet spot where required, it's just going to travel.
Yeah, he needed to get the distance right as well, because, you know, wet ball, the last shot from almost that exact position was touched near the line. Beautiful shot.
Woden off the deck.
And you know off the boot, don't you? A bit like Billy Elliott the other week. He knew as soon as he kicked it.
Woden pulled up sore there. Might have just tweaked his hamstring. He's grabbing at that left hamstring right now. Blake Howes to half forward. Harms looks in good position. Well done, Sincotta. Found the body. Crocker. Harms drops it. It's flipped out. Sincotta's direction. He's under pressure from Bowie. Crocker comes across for support. Heads towards the line. North involved as well. Now Carroll back to Crocker. He's crunched by Smith. And we'll get a free kick. So Ben Crocker having to work much higher up the ground this afternoon. He's been involved in the game. His big body around the contest has been important. 11th touch to a big pack, and it will get over the back. Sanders the only chance here for the Blues. McVie beats him to the football. Baker got rid of 1, got rid of 2, but not the 3rd, and he's gone. Glass McCasker sticks the tackle.
He didn't need to take that 3rd tackler on. He had the boundary line right there. He could have just worked his way over it and disguised it enough. Just opens the door here for the Blues going forward.
Can they get another to stay within striking distance and keep the heat on the Ds? Inside 50 off the hands of De Koning. Gets to the back. Dunstan throws a boot at it. Kemp ripped off it and gone.
Not the day for players to be trying to take their second spaces. The Swans have kicked a goal at the SCG at the 23-minute mark to wrestle back the lead off Collingwood. What a struggle that game is. In from the side, Glass McCasker. Howes, he wants the line, and that's exactly what he's going to get.
He's worked hard today, Glass McCasker. Started forward, he's now been thrown in the ruck, and just a real presence.
And a good return to the Carlton colours. Of course, was on their AFL list for a period of time, went back to his native Western Australia. Spent time with Footscray's VFL team, playing his local footy with Yarraville-Seton in the Western Region Footy League, and he's such a mobile, versatile option. Perfect type for a VFL list as Tomlinson flicked a boot at it. Finds its way to one of Casey's goal kickers this afternoon in Howes. Bowie. Casey trying to manage the clock a little bit here late. Pokes it into space, and on the second bite, Mitch White in game 100 will draw level with James Harms in his 25th possession here. It's a hand pass, and it's a tricky one for Howes, who's got to try and buy himself some time. Support from Woden. Back to White. Excellent smother from Fogarty. Woden is pummeled into the turf by the Lockie Fogarty tackle. Taj Woden, first year on Melbourne's list after being picked 65 in last year's NAB AFL draft. 6 goals in his 15 matches. Munro towing the line. Casey playing the clock here.
Kick from Bowie towards half forward. Great contested grab, Wiedemann. He'll turn, wide open forward line. Keeps it low and flat, can't get it over Durden, and he hangs onto this one.
It was the right option. He just didn't quite give it the elevation it needed. Great mark.
Durden to Lewis.
So I can imagine they're not going to be overly keen in moving this ball too quickly. 30 minutes gone.
Lewis will go long. De Koning's in this pack. Great grab by Kemp at the back. Now can he turn and go? Deezer have got numbers behind the football. Carl a little tick lead to come back at it. That's where he'll go. Nice kick, nice grab too.
Smart kick too, in case he dropped the mark or missed the target. You're not going to get counter-attacked the other way.
So Ned Carl. Siren sounds for three-quarter time. Casey with the only goal of that third quarter, and what a precious one to Bailey Laurie. Does Carl wind up and try to hit the big talk?
Just for a possession.
He says, why not? Ned Carl hits it pretty well, actually. And if there wasn't anyone in the way, that would actually skid on in these conditions. But the D's have got numbers back, and at three-quarter time, they've also got a handy little buffer. They lead by 9 points. Three-quarter time, Sevens VFL match of the day. Casey 4, 12-36. Carlton 4, 3-27. The D's by 9. The Swans hang on for a three-point win. They're a game clear inside the top 4. Don't forget, it's Carlton and Collingwood next week. They'll be fighting for a spot in the finals, quite possibly, as we start the last quarter. And the Blues have it. Fogarty receives from Dozzy. But his kick inside 50 will get cut off. Mark taken by Turner. Now to Howes. Cruising by is Tomlinson. Plowman sets himself behind Van Ruin. Coming across was Durden. Wiedemann flips it out in the White direction. His handball partly smothered by the Dozzy tackle. Likewise for Harms. White goes in again, bounces off North, gets a kick away despite the pressure from Plowman. Smith with a big elevation. Wiedemann the crumb. Unfortunately for him, Brown went to ground. That allowed Ranovatovic to get it back towards the wing. Bell versus De Koning. De Koning works him and the ball towards the line. Slaps it down the line in the path of Jesse Glass-McCasker, who walks it over.
Good second effort there from the big man De Koning, just to keep the ball alive, gain 7 or 8 metres for your team. If the Blues are to win, they need to do something about the Casey intercept marks in their back half. It's been a common theme all day. If it's not Tomlinson or Buntine, it's a defender for Casey taking those marks.
Blues did kick 3 goals to this very Cranbourne Road end of the ground, left of screen, late in the second. Harms to Howes. Kick not to the advantage of the forwards. Plowman's just going to usher that one to the line and see it over.
Point you make about intercept marks this afternoon, 18-9 Casey's way.
Matt Buntine, the man who provided a lot of those in the second quarter.
He's had 5 of them.
Yeah. They always try and free a man up, put him in a dangerous spot, and then have a quarterback type right at the back.
It's Deacon Smith, the one who's about 80 metres to the left of this contest, and where the De Koning kick is perhaps going to head. It shuffles its way into the corridor and towards Marr, who bundles through Harms and goes off the ground. And again, Carlton happy to take ground. Carl trying to make an impact on the contest against Allison and did wonderfully well. They get another 50 metres. And Ned Carl, you just feel a player of his type. We've mentioned today, we haven't seen the small crumbing forwards as prominent in the conditions as we perhaps anticipated. You feel like he's going to have his moment at some stage.
Casey by 9 points. De Koning versus Bell. Brutal conditions here at Casey Fields. It's been a real slog. It's been a thoroughly entertaining game. Low scoring, but what a contest. Baker. Smith has to turn around and track back against Plowman. Just got a fist in there, which was important because it got it to the deck and forces a contest.
Well done.
Plowman did well. Lou Soccer's only as far as White. He's ripped off his kick. Umpire says play on. Sincotta slapped away by White. Still there for the D's. Can Brown get on the end of it? Well done. Will Hayes got across, saved the day.
Yes.
Can he find a target? He can. It's Fogarty.
He's been terrific by foot, coming back through the corridor, Hayes.
Sincotta. Kyle did well. Carl, rather.
And that's quick ball movement, and it started with the work rate of Hayes.
He was probably just a little too far out to score in the conditions, so he's improved the option and given it to Ollie Sanders.
In the defensive work rate from Hayes to work back into that dangerous space, take the mark, immediately pull the trigger on a kick through the corridor, some run and carry, and Cale used his body perfectly. This is a massive kick.
Highly skilled left footer from North Launceston.
You just must kick these.
Kick 5-1 for the season. Critical kick this to bring it back within 3 points. Sanders steps up and delivers. The Colonel.
Great finish. Best passage of play for the day, and it couldn't have come at a more timely moment for the Thirsty Camel replay. That's the Hayes intercept mark and kick, the run and carry. Look at this bodywork. He didn't want to go too early with it. He knew he had his man cold, caught under the footy in Turner, and then 40 out directly in front. He just sees a better option a little bit closer. And now that should give him real belief. A goal early in this fourth quarter, back to 3 points.
Yeah, conditions Ollie Sanders would have played in many a time. He's native Tasmania, so the Blues back in this, 3 points down. Bell flicked it, Woden kicked it. It bounces out of the hands and chest of North. Harms is in there, North again. Clear kick from Trudgeon, and again Carlton into their half, and out the back perhaps. Marr fumbly, but it's going in the right direction. Punts it off the ground. Allison with work to do. Carl present again. And Bowie wants the line, and it almost bounced off his boot.
And that's all you need. That's all you need. The drop mark at centre half back from North, but he was quick to hunt back after it, and a stoppage inside your forward 50.
The big body of Xavier Marr, that power, that explosiveness has really had an impact in these conditions.
So Carlton with their fourth inside 50 of the term so far. Glass McCasker and Bell to tangle. Bell the hand, Glass McCasker the follow-up. Casey need to be careful here. Howe's got boot to ball, but what's ahead of him? Brown made the contest. Wiedemann, nothing in the front half of the ground for either side. So first back and waiting for the bounce is Radovanovic. Needs a target in white. Carroll, high fist, Deacon Smith, but support on the scene. Sanders, the recent goal kicker. Toe pokes. Fumbly, just going without it, was Buntine, and that allowed Carlton to reassemble around the footy. Baker and air swing. Hayes clean. Out of traffic, Sincotta to Koning on his left. A tumbling ball through the hands of Turner. Tomlinson with pressure on either side. Now it's Bell. We've got a whistle.
Just a
and
high
a relief
contact
for
there.
Casey.
But
At a critical time.
well, the quick ball movement from Carlton in this last quarter hasn't allowed the Casey defenders to set up with that spare man that they like.
Tomlinson's kick made life a little difficult for Baker. He's confronted by Hayes and turns it over to Sincotta. The Blues with the momentum at the moment. Can they put it on the board and get in front? It's Radovanovic rather. To Koning. Well done, Bell. Got a hand to it as De Koning was lurking at the back. Numbers here for the Ds. Harms, Bowie. The give and get with Baker. Will look down the line. Can he find a target? Wiedemann is the option, but he and Durden see it skid out of bounds.
You think that man Wiedemann on screen or De Koning up the other end, couple of big men that you know are going to be presented with plenty of opportunity in contest. Can one stick? Can they take one out of the ruck?
You might just be hearing a whistle faintly in the background of the effects mic. There are other fields around here at Casey Fields. There's another one just across the road, and I have a feeling we're just picking that up. The breeze is blowing it in this direction, so a little confusing, but if it's just a faint whistle in the distance, that's where it's coming from. Kick in towards the pocket. There's Tom North, 23-year-old, playing his local footy at Vermont these days. Jack Bell has had a power of work to do in the ruck this afternoon. So many stoppages and contests. This time he'll go against Glass McCasker, where Woden couldn't quite control it. Hayes, quick kick Carroll, toe pokes again. Trudgeon ripped off it, taken by Laurie. Umpire said, yeah, the Trudgeon tackle lingered.
There is a game of footy, Jace, as you mentioned, the oval number 2 to the right of screen, just in the background there of shot. So
that's where the phantom whistles are coming from.
Don't be confused. Hopefully the more prominent whistle you hear is going to be the ones here at Casey Fields, as that's a tricky ball backing back for Carroll to take, but he's had a say so far for the Blues, who are trying desperately to find an avenue to a 6th goal here and a lead. Allison charged at it, kicked forward. North did well.
Yeah, he's playing from in front. Really good defensive position at the moment.
Providing them with a bit of composure across half back. Hopefully some ball use to go with it as well. That's not the case there. Not as bad as his out of bounds effort from half back in the previous quarter. So we're into the 9 minute mark of this final quarter. Casey, 3 points in front, trying to win their 17th straight match of the season. Carlton trying to win their 11th and stay relevant in the finals race.
Have a repeat throw in there. That one just askew. Bell and Glass McCasker will continue their battle. Shoulder to shoulder. Glass McCasker tries to palm it down. Hayes slapped in the Fogarty direction. Pressure comes from behind from Woden. Fogarty on the bottom of that pack. Ball does spill out.
He's trying to crawl away from it. He could see the umpire lurking. Luke Dunstan just the 9 disposals so far this afternoon. So he's been kept well and truly quiet around these clearances.
Goes hunting it now.
Here he is.
Almost finds it.
I want to have a say.
Trudging on the bottom of that pack once again. And Bowie going at it. And a tough day at the office for all concerned with some tired bodies. In Carlton's case, they've got a week to rest up and get ready for Collingwood at the MCG. A double header on 7 next Sunday from 11:30. VFL into AFL. Sliding effort into the pocket was from Kemp. Gets up, lays a tackle.
The sort of day,
high.
Jace, that you enjoy retirement when you look at these conditions.
So Allison, he'll clear the footy here for Casey. Fly from Van Ruin. Hasn't been able to grab anything with any real intent this afternoon. Bell was stripped, but umpire lets it go. Wiedemann, Harms, has Baker to his outside, elects to kick instead, and Durden's done well a couple of times today to try and take the pace off the ball in his first marking attempt. Couldn't complete it there, so Dunstan fanned the ball back in. Now it's Radovanovic for the Blues. High, long, deep kick. Buntine trying to make a run at it. That's a superb grab from Kemp, who's giving them a presence forward of the ball here and some power as well. Maybe not his intended target there, but it works nonetheless for Ma. Where's his options? Through the hands of Turner at ground level. Carl is lurking. Tackler now over the top, support from Trudgeon, and Carlton have a forward 50 stoppage.
I think
Great
Kemp,
play, Radovanovic. How's this mark from Kemp?
I think Kemp initially was just trying to create a contest, and his body work was that good that he ended up taking a chest mark.
DeConing couldn't take it from the ruck. It ricochets off the body of Woden, who then gives it to Baker. Now Harms, and they link up by hand to Steele. Off the left boot, down the line. Some marking power in this one, but tough to take it. Wiedemann at the back will gather. Can he make something happen? High kick, standing underneath it was George. Couldn't hang on. They've still got some numbers. Stepping through Van Ruin. Did well. Drew some traffic. Dunstan's got to be quick. In fact, it was Laurie. Kick dribbles inside 50. Crocker's got to be quick. He does well. Great second effort there from George. Carroll. Crocker. High kick back towards half forward. Standing underneath it was Turner. Got rid of Carl, who then scraps on the deck. Support arrives for the Blues. Socket off the ground by Tomlinson will work for Baker. He now goes to Laurie. Can look inside by hand to Dunstan. Dunstan will turn, draw a man, pop it over the top to Brown. He's 60 from goal. Pokes towards the pocket. Going back was Wiedemann. To the front of the contest. Flipped away by George. Taken by Steele. And the Blues have got numbers at the top of the goal square.
Frenetic pace this game, and every contest so important.
Machete to Ma. And now an opportunity to come away here through Sanders.
That's an aggressive kick, to say the least, though, through the hands of Crocker. Woden was clean. Off to Harms. He assesses his options. Kicks wide. Van Ruin to fly again. It gets to the back. Steele, cool, calm, collected, goes to ground and finishes it off.
Is it Crocker? No. Where is it? Radovanovic.
The dangerous kick back into the corridor. High risk, high reward. This occasion got turned over. Harms pumps it back in on the Thirsty Camel replay. Radovanovic gets hurt in that contest, clutching an ankle, but just a well thought out, executed kick, dribbling it along the ground there on his right boot.
Beautiful.
And a really important finish.
From Steele.
First time we've really seen a crumbing player perhaps have an influence at ground level in front of goal for Casey.
There's been few and far between, hasn't it, as Radovanovic comes off worse for wear, and he's been terrific this afternoon at just taking some intercept marks across the half-back line, so can't afford to lose him.
Back in the middle of the ground, out to that handy 9-point lead again. Trudgeon confronted by Spencer, going nowhere. Stefan Radovanovic gets to the bench and has that ankle assessed. Blues already down Alex Murkov, who cut his knee earlier in the game. White in game number 100. Inside 50 as the rain intensifies. So does the pressure. Blues kick back towards Crocker. He goes off the deck. Simple football. Aquay lurking. It won't head in his direction. Taken by Buntine. Spencer did well to trap it. Was a difficult one. Tried to handball through traffic to White. Sliding in was White to lay a tackle.
Every contest just so important now. Both these sides understand the consequences.
Really pelting down. There are the consequences right now. Carlton clinging to 8th spot. Can they find a way? A couple of goals would get them almost certainly into the finals, with Richmond lurking in 9th. It's still up for grabs. They are far from secure at the moment as Spencer kicks towards half forward. Plowman couldn't control it. Durden. Tackle laid there by Joel Smith.
Just when we thought we might have seen the last of the rain for the day, it's now ratcheted back up to 11 again. So based on that live ladder, the percentage gap will be 5% between the Blues and the Tigers as Dunstan hits Wiedemann on the chest. His best look of the afternoon right here.
Quick kick from a stoppage, something that Casey have really got back in their favour in the second half and playing in front.
Looks like the wind swung around a bit. He might even be kicking into it. Sam Durden sort of meandering back towards the goal line.
21 possessions for Sam Wiedemann this afternoon to sit 4th for Casey. It's unusual that one of your key forward targets is that high, but given he's had to come up the ground so often, provide an exit target, hits the post, so Carlton stay alive. The margin now 10 points, all of it in Casey's behind column.
It's at that stage of the game here where you might just go straight up the middle.
17 minutes gone. That's exactly what they do. Cincotta, one of their biggest kicks, absolutely thumps it to the middle of the ground. Can they get some numbers on the deck, the Blues, to bring it forward? Sliding in hard was Trudge, and umpire said he took the legs out from James Harms, who was less than impressed.
A good understanding by Tomlinson too. He knew that they couldn't afford to get that over the back, so the double-fisted spoil just to make sure he got good purchase.
Harms. Deliberate inside 50. Wiedemann at the front. Got hands. Durden, that tackle lingers against Joel Smith. Feels like the Blues need a slingshot. That's where their goals are going to come from. Get out and over the back of a contest and head goalward. That's the most dangerous scenario in these conditions, has been all day. Dozzy in there fighting for it. Flips it to Crocker. He'll take territory down the line. Can Glass McCasker get there before the boundary line? He cannot. Umpire in these conditions will say throw it in. It's been sensibly umpired today. Not too many insufficient intents, because in these conditions it's a lottery.
Yeah,
the simplest of kicks is made difficult.
But they've done well. They've paid the free kicks that have been there. They haven't paid the Ticky Touchwood ones that might bob up on a wet, slippery day.
Close game unfolding, as you can see, between Essendon and Werribee. Just 3 points the difference in favour of the Bombers, who've had a fantastic second half of the season after having a horror first half.
And if you've just joined us, the VFL game between Sydney and Collingwood.
Swans getting over the top of the Pies in the end, so they find themselves well and truly amongst the top 4 heading into the final round of the season. Some mouth-watering matchups next week to consider that you're going to have the Swans and Box Hill 4th versus 5th playing each other, and Fergus Green currently with the advantage in the Frosty Miller medal race as well to play in that match. The Brisbane Lions and Casey to play each other next weekend at Moreton Bay on Saturday. That, of course, to follow the Friday night blockbuster in the AFL between Melbourne and Brisbane that looks like it's going to be virtual second place playoff. Bowie chopped off. Good defensive actions there from Dozy. Carl's going to have 3 or 4 to beat. He didn't get a flight at the end. No mark. Ground level ball for Sanders. Did he have enough of it? Aquay tackling Bowie. Carlton happy to see this ball to the line, and a chance goes begging for the Blues.
We've got 2 games for you on 7 VFL Match of the Day next week. Richmond and Frankston on Saturday afternoon from 2 p.m. Eastern. Tigers a chance to jump up into the 8 and knock one of these other teams out, maybe Carlton. And then on Sunday from 11:30, it's Carlton and Collingwood.
Van Ruin into the ruck for Casey. A dozen players around the footy. Tomlinson desperate to muscle it free. Dozy went looking for North. So every player on the ground within a kick of this footy. Sam Durden is the spare back off the contest for Carlton.
It's going to be hard to find time and space around this stoppage to have a shot on goal here from the Blues.
Just keep the pressure on, maybe cop a high free kick, make the defence defend. In these conditions, there's no margin for error. It's smothered off the boot of Carroll, as Brownie suggested. Just can't get a clean boot at it in the middle of that washing machine. Players go to ground from all sides. That's a great angle of it. Umpire says, throw it in. When you see that ground level and you see how slippery and how hard the bodies collide on these days.
Yeah. Both these sides have had a red-hot crack right from the opening bounce. It's been played in very, very good spirit.
It's been fierce, ferocious, unforgiving. You see Trudgeon go down there, courtesy of James Harms, who's ferocious in over the top of it. North couldn't quite. Comes to Dow. He gains a bit of territory. Important mark. Really important mark there from McVee.
And you can see he's happy to slow things down a little bit.
High back towards the wing. Durden will arrive to crash this pack. Off the hands of Dozzy, trying to bust through there was Howes. Slight fumble from Sincotta. Dow will pick it up, smothered off his boot by Smith. Laurie trying to control it. North will feed it backwards through the legs of Durden. He's now got a problem, bustled out of it by Smith. Somehow Dow bounces to his feet, finds the football. Van Ruin on the chest, not quite. Fogarty lurking. Here's Harms again, good strong tackle, Sanders. McVee to the line. It is tough and hard.
Well done, Lockie Fogarty. He just had to find a way to bring that ball to ground. He did. So, really important that you know and understand your role and you execute it.
Shallow throw in. Van Ruin was first to it. Just got a knuckle onto it. Harms taken out of commission with a strong bump there from Brodie Kemp, who's done fantastically well after being severely concussed in the opening minute of the game, and happy to walk his way to the bench is Taj Woden, who was a little bit sore, as we mentioned earlier on. So news from the SCG, if you're just joining us, Jordan De Goey late out for Collingwood. We've got a blood rule as Tom De Koning will walk 2 metres off the ground.
He's calling glass.
So De Goey out, Trent Bianco is the player into Collingwood's 22. Callum Brown will be their medical sub. Braden Campbell, the sub for Sydney. The biggest game those two clubs have played at the SCG. As Dow gives it off, and quick kick forward from Dozy to centre half forward. It gets through the back, and Tomlinson's got to march after it, trying to close the space on him is Lewis. Tomlinson's kick is wide and very deliberate, you'd imagine.
Yeah, because he had the opportunity to kick that further up the line into play and chose the outside of the boot. Wasn't out on the full. It was paid deliberate by the adjudicating umpire. So it's now or never for the Blues. They've been gallant, but they were gallant last night, and these close losses, they hurt when finals are on the line. They've got to almost be a bit bold and brave with their ball movement.
Hayes to 50. Here's one of those phantom whistles from the other ground. Quick kick from Dozzy inside. Fogarty loops a handball. Really didn't do any favours for Kemp, who was strong. Rode a tackle, a fumble. And the moment lost there for the Blues. Coming through was White. Dow in the other direction, takes the spin. Bowie just slams it on the boot and gains 55 metres. It'll be more on the bounce. He'll be happy for this to run out, and it does. That's a great result. Bowie almost kicking for touch there, and that just diffuses the situation for the D's.
Half chance inside their forward 50, but again, just a tiny fumble on a wet, slippery day at this level. It's all you need to welcome the defensive pressure from Casey that's been there all afternoon.
Klaas McCasker, again, a throw-in falls way short. And this one will be rethrown again.
So you change your mindset here, Jace. It's been a one of turning boundary side, long up the line for most of the day, playing conservative. Now, if you're the Blues, you bring it back into the corridor. If you're the ruckman, you can tap it over the top into some space. You need 2 goals in the last 5 minutes.
You've got to take the risk that you're going to concede them the other way. Howes, Dunstan. High kick to a one-on-one. Plowman's got front position against Smith, who got into his back. And maybe now a chance for the Blues to build from the back, but they can't get an advantage there. It got away from Hayes, so it'll have to be a slow play.
And maybe a switch. You know, we've seen no switching of the football this afternoon, but you're going to have to try and move this ball really quickly.
Well, apart from Sam Durden, there's virtually no off-ball run here for Lockie Plowman. He's got stationary targets only. Durden the closest of them, not even the required 15. And, well, that's just trying to shift the Casey defence in front of Tom North here to open up some sort of space. Lose the likely man to contest. He just ran under the ball and left his direct opponent, Corey Ellison, standing there to take an uncontested mark.
Yeah.
And again, Casey can manage this game from here.
He's got to read the ball off the boot sometimes, and Ellison did that.
He's happy to kick towards the boundary. Durden will fly, as will Smith, to split the pack. Clearing ball comes from Ma, who's repositioned himself. Now an opportunity for Lou. And they have to attack. And that's exactly what the Lou kick does. Kemp after it, as is Howes. Didn't really get a fist on it, though. Clever underground ball from McVee. Back to Howes. Tomlinson. He'll find a target in the form of Dunstan.
Didn't mind the kick, though. It was to space. Even though Casey were first there was pressure applied, and if they'd have turned that ball over in the middle of the ground, Carlton would have been away.
Yeah, if Kemp had been able to get there and control it, they could have attacked goal. Lunging effort from Wiedemann.
Oh, he's done some huge things late. He was never going to kick a big bag today like we've seen, but you've seen his work rate, 23 disposals, some good marks up the ground to present.
Wonderful game from a key forward in these conditions. Hayes also been great. Couldn't control this one. Laurie, chance here. Steele already kicked one clever one in the final term. That one floats across the face. Blues living on the edge here. Carroll. Handball back. North. Bowie. And he can shut the gate.
Looking at 17-0 for the season, which is just remarkable. It's the best season we've seen since we've been doing the VFL for 6 years, Jace.
Yeah, it'd be the best one since Port Melbourne went undefeated in 2011. Casey a chance to emulate that. If Bowie can kick that goal, they'll roll on to 17-0. Jake Bowie for his first goal in VFL football in game number 11. Seals the deal for the D's.
Thirsty Camel replay, just a hack kick out of their defensive 50, and it lands in the hands of Bowie, and there's probably no one better on the field that you want the ball in his hands. He kicks the sealer, runs straight to the bench and puts the cue in the rack, I think, for the day, Jake Bowie.
And in the end, the difference in every sense has been class finishes in the second half from Bailey Laurie, Rowan Steele and Jake Bowie. Casey with a 16-point advantage. Carlton have battled manfully, but they just haven't had that touch of class when required to go with the undefeated ladder leaders. Dunstan collapses in the trudgeon tackle.
So it's going to be a big month and a half for both Melbourne and Casey.
Dow, tumbling, clearing ball, his 33rd possession. Crocker looking to add his name late. Brown, who's put himself behind the ball.
But how many times have we seen teams thrive in that situation? You think of the Bulldogs, you think of Richmond when both their teams are up and about VFL and AFL.
Make the run together. And plenty of win or go home games to play in. Crocker, almost the handball received. Buntine done his job in defences. Woden was pushed out of it. Mark not completed though by Radovanovic. Good to see him back onto the ground after that ankle tweak earlier on. Baker's careful left football finds its way into the hands of Joel Smith, who hasn't got a lot in front of him. Bailey Laurie is the man trying to run forward to provide an option. Harms, the shorter target, can now motion the traffic.
Worked himself into the ground today, James Harms. Disposal number 35, been one of the best men on the ground.
Dow's had 32 for the Blues, so the two Medi subs doing their job this afternoon. Hayes, another tackle. Lou, nice pick up for a big man. Handball left a little bit his eye. Another one for Dow. Run down from behind with Sin Cotter. Umpire says holding the football. Casey will tune up for September with a road trip to Brisbane on Saturday. The Blues to face Collingwood at an MCG doubleheader blockbuster next Sunday. We'll be there live from 11:30 on 7. Don't forget Saturday afternoon, Richmond and Frankston from 2 p.m. The Tigers trying to squeeze into the top 8, maybe at the expense of the Blues. Sanders, Plowman, Crocker throws a hand at it. Early today, Sydney beating Collingwood in the VFL curtain raiser at the SCG, so the Swans moving a game clear inside the top 4. So Carlton and Collingwood with everything to play for in the VFL and the AFL next week. It could be 90,000 plus at the G. Really looking forward to it. What a day it's going to be. Ma comes bursting through. Glass McCasker caught behind, and Brown gone behind the football.
Yeah, just planted himself back there and read that perfectly off the boot. It was fantastic roving, but a long kick down the line, and there were no numbers.
The D's move a step closer to the perfect home and away campaign. They're 17-0, while the Blues may have to roll the pies at the MCG next week to make the VFL finals for the first time since 2011. Casey see off a gallant Carlton in brutal conditions here at Casey Fields. The D's 6-13-49 defeat Carlton 5-3-33. On behalf of Nigel Carmody, Campbell Brown, the entire team here at Casey Fields, it's time to take you to the SCG as Sydney prepare to host Collingwood in what shapes as one of the most important games of the season. 2 informed teams, Sydney on a 5-game streak, Collingwood on a 10-game streak. Let's take you to the SCG now. It's good afternoon and welcome to Brian Taylor.